Welcome to live coverage of the Rocky Mountain ATV MC Gncc here on RacerTV.com. We're here for round number 11 of the 2017 AMSOIL Gncc Racing Series presented by Maxxis, an AMA National Championship. Now let's take it down to the start line with Rodney Tomlin.
And now, your starting lineup for this Mountaineer Run GNCC. Rolling to the line in accordance to points here today. First, aboard the number 1 from Boonville, North Carolina. On the verge of a record-breaking day, the possibility of his 5th consecutive title and tying the all-time wins record with Scott Summers. Riding aboard that one from Boonville, North Carolina on an FMF Factory Racing KTM, Caleb Russell. Rolling to the line second today, a former XC2 champion and a winner of the opening round of 2017 on the 514 from Belton, South Carolina on a KTM SRT KTM, Stu Baylor. Rolling to the line next. He won the Snowshoe GNCC. Finished on the podium at Unadilla and looking to upset Caleb Russell today aboard the number 212 from Duval, Washington. In Fab and Pro Yamahas, Rough and Rowdy Ricky Russell. Rolling to the line next aboard the number 314 from Belton, South Carolina on a Rocky Mountain ATV MC KR4 Husqvarna. Former XC2 champion Grant Baylor. Up next, the rookie this season, riding aboard the number 5 and your former XC2 champion from Morganton, North Carolina on the JCR Honda, Trevor Bowenger. Rolling to the line next, he rides aboard the number 4 from Cookeville, Tennessee on the Beta USA Beta, Jordan Ashburn. Up next, he's a multi-time national enduro champion aboard the number 113 from Jefferson, Georgia on the FMF KTM Factory Racing KTM, Russell Bobbitt. Aboard the number 114, a two-time former GNCC champion from Australia on a Rockstar Energy Husqvarna backed by Bell Ray, Josh Strang. Up next, riding aboard the number 984 from Hebron, Indiana on the RPM KTM, Chris Bach. Aboard the number 264, America's first ever overall ISDE winner and former motocross and supercross great, the 264 from Akron, Kentucky, Coastal Racing Rockstar Energy Husqvarna rider, Ryan Sipes. Up next, the 323 from Wellington, Ohio, on the Husqvarna, Scott Grills. And last, and certainly not least, aboard the number 717 from Clarion, Pennsylvania, on a Beaver Creek Cycle MPR suspension, backed Husqvarna, Mason Atherton. And that, ladies and gentlemen, your starting lineup for this Mountaineer Run GNCC as our riders make their way onto that front starting line. The rest of our nearly 200 field contingency revving their machines up and warming it up for a big and hot day of racing here on Marvin's Mountaintop. Temperatures very warm here today. A light breeze is blowing, and probably the biggest saving grace of what this afternoon race is going to see here for the Mountaineer Run GNCC. Temperatures, like we said, a little warm. The sun is very intense. But that breeze is going to save us not only in keeping us a little cool, but it's also going to save us from these harsh, dusty conditions that we have been faced with so far in the first few races of Marvin's Mountain here this weekend. Can this wind help us out? What will the rest of the race bring regardless? And I'll tell you, folks, a lot on the line here as far as history goes in GNCC, and what better place could we have it taking place than right here in the shadows of the home offices of Racer Productions. Right now, our attention turns to Ricky Towery as he is about to begin our starting sequence. He is making the final all systems go checked, and it sounds and appears that everything is all systems go here on Marvin's Mountain. The Mountaineer run is about to get underway in 1 minute, folks. 1 minute. And we'll get ready to go GNCC racing, and the history will begin typing itself out lap after lap, minute after minute here in West Virginia. What a great place to be able to make these kind of accomplishments for these riders and for the championship series itself so close to home. Ricky Towery gets set to ready these riders. The next signal we see from him will be the blue flag. Shut them down, guys. Shut them down. Shut them down. Shut them down. Shut them down. We are less than 30 seconds away from going GNCC racing. And I got to ask you, West Virginia Mountaineer Run fans, are you ready to go GNCC racing? Come on, folks, we're in the heart of the GNCC racing nation. GNCC was born right here in these mountains. I got to ask you one more time. West Virginia, are you ready to go GNCC racing? 10 seconds. And row number 1, the XC1 Pro, will be up and rolling at a Rocky Mountain ATVMC Mountaineer Run GNCC. $250 up for grabs. Rough and rowdy Ricky Russell jumping to the front of the pack. The 717 of Mason Atherton and the number 1 of Caleb Russell, all right there. Ricky Russell will get the whole shot and $250. XC2 coming up next. We got riders like Craig DeLong, Benjamin Kelly, Jesse Grom, Sam Evans, Zach Hayes, Dylan Rash, Braxton McGee, Nathan Thornhill, Austin Lee, Josh Toth, Brendan Riordan, Harrison Helmick, Michael Wachowski, Jasper Borgeson, Ryder Lafferty, Anthony Federico, Ryan Francis, Dylan McRitchie, Lane Michael, Keegan Temple, Nick Davis, Joseph Ferraro, Tristan Lantern, Zach Nolan, and Trevor Barrett. 10 seconds. And like a mad dash off to that first turn, 25 riders, elbow to elbow, working it out. And it's the 523 of West Virginia's own Lane Michael grabbing the early lead, a whole shot, and quite possibly off and rolling to another win. FMF XC3 125 Pro-Am class, the last race for Jason Thomas as a professional rider, as well as we welcome to the line our WXC champion Taylor Jones, along with Paul Whibley, Jack Edmondson, Devin Welch, Josh Atkins, Mark Carrasco, Hunter Newer, Jared Williams, and Chris Vendetti. 10 seconds. It gets gnarly in that first turn. Paul Whibley, though, going to pull out the early lead, or at least the whole shot. Goes wide, is still able to maintain the lead as we go to the 258 class. Riders like Jesse Ansley, Chase Hayes, Eric Douglas, Zachary Hugel, Matthew Davis, Anthony Tavani, Hunter Bush, Alex Teagarden, Keith Stregnoss, Owen Guys, Jojo Bowden, Matthew Kiefer, Landon Bruner, and Jonathan Johnson. 10 seconds. Around the first turn, it's the number 916. That is Landon Bruner out of Halifax, Pennsylvania on the KTM. Four-stroke A-Lights, Justin Murphy, Connor Keegan, Chris McManus, Ryan Slopko, Bolton B. Robb, Brendan Poling, Luke Ross, Cole Madison, Eli Childers, Tyler Braniff, Matt Tavani, and Braden Moore, all ready to roll next in 10 seconds. Great jump off the line by the 2:15 of Ryan Slopko, but it's going to be the 3:32 of Cole Madison out of Inman, South Carolina, looking like he's going to grab the early leads. Olean's USA, Brewers Cycles, and FXR sponsored. Open A coming up next. Brady Myers, Zach Tussle, Connor Smith, Tyler Brunton, Ben Parsons, Zach Dotson, Cope Beckert, and Bryce Coster. 10 seconds. The Open A bike through the first turn. Whoa, missed the number on all those guys. 200A. Teague Securo, Cash Jacobs, Brody Johnson, Johnny Manera, Nathan Davis, Hank Hayes, Hunter Reimer, and Reese Bruner all ready to roll next. 10 seconds. I heard him yell, "Go, Hank." Will it be enough to get him out front here in the early part? Hunter Reimer out of Saxonburg, ripping it out with those Maxxis tires going for, whoa, look at that. He in the 6:15, 8:15 Reese Bruner. They're going to be going at it for the next few laps, I imagine. Junior AB 25+ class, Andrew Broggs, Clint Masters, Nick Mellinger, Casey Belt, Joseph McCarty, Nick Bush, Luke Towery, Lane Hosler, and Sean Cunningham. 10 seconds. Around that first turn, it is 4:26. Joseph McCarty out front out of Mount Clair, West Virginia. Teeley Energy Racing, MCI Racing, and Outlaw Motorsports backed rider. Senior A, Shotgun Sean Remington, Christian Boombaugh, also Chris Levin, Chad Sander, Frank Tussle, Carl LeBlanc, and Jeffrey Odell. 10 seconds. Around the first turn, we roll now with the Senior A 40+ class. It is a 1:03 Christian Broomball from Williamsburg, Pennsylvania, grabbing the early lead with the Vet A 30+ class on tap next. It's Joe Marsh, Sam Forster, Jared Hoffman, James Singer, Jedediah Haynes, Nathan Allring, Benjamin Kolb, and Bill Zabindi. 10 seconds. Rounding that first turn now, position jockeying going on. Oh, look at that. 360 from the complete inside to outside now. James Singer out of Bell Vernon, Pennsylvania, grabbing the lead now into our Vet B 30+ class next. Larry Hopper, Sean Moritz, Glenn Hayes, Tommy Curtis, Kevin Rammer, Sean Royal, Neil Hood, Jordan Overfield, Nathan Wallace, Tim Creed, Jeremiah Stowobi, Josh Nichols, Scott Dallin, and Eric Kettering. 10 seconds. .688, Tim Creeth out of Reedsville, Ohio on that Kawasaki, snagging early lead there. Grabbing gears now, heading to the second turn as we go to the Open B class. On the start line, James Harshberger, Adam Hollenkamp, George Douglas, Jacob Pritt, Matt Sorge, Dominic Jarvis, Steven Schunkweiler, Cody Stevens, Jacob Barnes, and Corey Jordan. 10 seconds. Sorting these riders out. The 31 on the machine. It's the 408 GNCC number. Cody Stevens from New Cumberland, West Virginia. He's going to get the early lead off the start here. See if he can hang on to that as we go next to the senior B40 plus class. Jeffrey Flynn, John Masters, Mark Cropper, Kelly Laborde, William Lackey, Charles Ultimates, Darren Darmos, and Gregory Richardson. 10 seconds. .676. Kelly Laborde got a good jump off the line. See what happens on this first turn into the second turn. 7:59. William Lackey, though. Lackey, your leader out of Hickory, North Carolina. 4-stroke B lights. Jake Ross, Joe Spivey, Keaton Ultimate, Zachariah Tinky, Adam Parker, Eric Ross, Alan Braden, Garrett Robertson, and Hunter Scott. 10 seconds. We'll see what happens here out of this first turn. It is, wow, what a drag race. 192 winning that one to the second turn. Jake Ross out of Middletown, Virginia. See how he fares the rest of the way around the track. We'll check in with him a little later. 250B, Kyle Prisma, Nick Hoffman, Cody Kleiss, Jay Sweeta, Cody Martin, Malcolm Pastine, Ryan Cunningham, Austin Hempler, Wade Richards, Jacob Daniel. 10 seconds. Grant Kirkman, Noah Martins, also Blaine Kimmery, Jonathan Harker, Michael DeLosa, Aaron Martz, Dakota DeVore, Brock Holloway, Evan Stewart, Hunter Moore, Billy Seglia. Or Salega. Salega, I believe is how you say that as they enter that first turn. 4:09. Grant Kerfman from Mount Morris, Pennsylvania, FMF, Liette, and Dunlop. And your 200B class coming up next. That is Benjamin Wright, Chase Colville, Dylan Rutzel, Nicholas Haynes, Seth Bevington, Noah Stewart, and Brandon Keegan. A couple of riders still trying to get out of that second turn right now as Ricky studies that closely. Now readies the next row in 10 seconds. There you go, folks, the final start of the day, the drag race of that first turn. 318, Chase Colville. He gets cut off there by the 154. And look at that, the 111 also in there. Benjamin Wright in there. We got ourselves a crazy battle starting out in that 200B class already. And, folks, I tell you, we've already mentioned the big things going on Marvin's Mountaintop today. Can Caleb Russell clinch his 5th championship? Can he tie Scott Summers in the all-time wins record? Can Josh Todt clinch his title? And what about Jason Thomas in his final attempt as an XC3 Pro Class racer here at GNCC? Stick around. GNCC Live continues after this.
We handle your races, your jumps, and your trails. Isn't it time you give your daily driver the same love? AMSOIL Signature Series Synthetic Motor Oil delivers 75% more engine protection against horsepower loss and wear than required by a leading industry standard. AMSOIL also offers a full family of dirt bike lubricants, giving you above and beyond fortification for your weekday and weekend vehicles. AMSOIL, devoted to protection.
As riders and racers, we understand the need to get quality parts, apparel, and accessories fast. We have the horsepower of multiple warehouses to make sure your gear, OEM parts, or accessories make it to your door quickly. Check out our easy-to-use website and experience customer service that takes the whole shot. RockyMountain8VMC.com. Get ready.
Here he is, Walker Fowler, Grand National Cross Country XC1 Pro Class Champion.
And welcome back to GNCC Live. I'm Mikey Waynes, joined with Johnny Gallagher, and Rodney Tomlin will be in the booth in just a moment. And welcome to the 2017 Rocky Mountain ATV MC Mountaineer Run. That's a mouthful. Here in beautiful Masontown, West Virginia for round number 11 of 13. Hard to believe we're already here in round 13. But here we are, and look at that view. Doesn't really get much better than that. That is an excellent shot of just where we're racing out here. And I gotta say, Johnny, this is my first time out here, and the roads that bring you to this mountaintop, you would never know this hidden gem is right here.
Absolutely. It was, you know, pulling up here, you'd think that you're headed to some valley, and you know you're going to be between a moonshine shack and a and a banjo. But once you get up here, I mean, beautiful views. I can assure you, if you take an aerial shot of all this right now, it looks a little bit different.
Yeah.
Because we've got a cloud of dust floating around. But that's racing. We love outdoor, you know, a GNCC racing, and that's part of being in the outdoors. You got to deal with the elements, and but a beautiful property. You know, a lot of events held here, but this is one of the season highlights for everybody here at Marvin's Mountaintop. And again, just beautiful views, great facility, and a lot of fun here.
Absolutely. And before we were here, we were in Unadilla up in New York, and I think we're going to get things started off to kind of set the tone for today. Take a look at some of those Unadilla highlights. As I take off my glasses so I can see what I'm looking at. So there you go, right off of the start. I believe it was Ricky Russell who hung on to that whole shot, the number 212 there.
Shot out of a cannon, Mikey.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
He's been like that this year. Just something about that NFAB Ampro Yamaha YFZ 450X. They got that thing just firing up real quick. It's getting him out front, and it really has allowed him to do this, which is lead a lot of these races. More so at Unadilla than we had ever seen before, though. He really was in a battle there for the lead for much of the early stages of this 2 or 3 hour event.
And we saw that was the FMF PowerPoint from a couple weekends ago, and those guys were struggling through that early on. They got the hang of it come the end of the race, but here we get a look at these guys coming through. We saw Caleb working his way through there.
Ryan Sipes also up in the mix early, had a strong ride going on until he's suddenly in the pits. Jordan Ashburn, another rider that was really charging hard early, was up in there battling it up in the mix for that, you know, for that win, and ultimately battling for a podium throughout the entire race.
That's exactly right.
And
so
here we see.
There we go. There's a perfect example of the situations they were in. That wasn't the only one of those we saw a couple weekends back in Unadilla. As it were, as the season has kind of gone, it was Caleb Russell come the end of this one. I think he's slowly starting to work up the pack and maybe pull away a little bit. There we go. There he is. Caleb Russell right there capturing win number 45. Again, win number 45. One away from Scott Summers. And now that was a couple weekends ago in Unadilla. Now we're here at the Mountaineer Run in West Virginia, and we're going to take a look, check in with Jared Bolton for a track description.
Thanks, guys. We're back here in Masontown, West Virginia. This marks the 6th time we've been here for the Mountaineer Run GNCC. But before that, this place actually hosted a good number of local races. So there's a lot of different trail out there, and there's a lot of different things you're going to encounter here. For one, there's rocks. There's also roots. There's good flowing trails. There's some tight trails. There's also some rocks. And then you got a little bit of mud here and there. And did I mention there's rocks? So basically what I'm telling you is this is a very rocky course, and it's very challenging in places. You know, it almost rivals snowshoe as one of the tougher courses of the season. And what's unique about this place is we don't go to a lot of places that have this much rock at it. But here we get there, and you're going to see that today, that it really makes a heck of a challenge for these guys. The rock's loose, it rolls around, and it's really tough to ride in. So that's the good thing about this track. It's got something for everybody, and if you like rock, this is perfect for you. And what we've done this year is we've mixed things up a little bit. We've ran into some sections that we haven't ran since the first year we were here. And we've done that because they've actually logged a few sections of the property here. But we've basically just skipped those, got onto some older trail and mixed things up a little bit. So all in all, I think this year's Mountaineer Run GNCC is probably the best Mountaineer course we've ever had.
Well, there you go. Jared Bolton talking about the track for you. He said it himself, best track of the year. We're taking a look here. This is the overview of the track right now. And Johnny, you've raced this one a few times, right? I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, he can say best track of the year all he wants, but, you know, this place is gnarly. It definitely has its place. Some of the old school GNCC guys do like it. Myself being old school, I actually don't care for it. But we did head back
Hey, this is Walker Fowler, and you're watching RacerTV.
Just a few moments ago. Just a few moments ago, we did see our XC1 guys take off, and again, familiar number out front, that 212 NFAB Ampro Yamaha. Ricky Russell grabbing the early lead. Chase down there. We see Caleb Russell working his way around the inside, trying to make a run at him. And look at that, around the outside, that was Ryan Sipes stealing away the lead. Caleb Russell tucking inside or outside of Ricky Russell, taking over that second place spot. Russell with the whole shot and shuffled right back to third place. So I'm sure he's not pumped on that. The XC2 start, tell you what, two of the guys that we expect to be out front were right out front, right from the drop of the gate. It was the 523 of Lane Michael. And look at this, right on his outside, tucking his way in, we see that high-vis camelback of Josh Toth running it in there. He comes in, squares it up, and almost gets a drive on Michael coming into the next corner, but Michael's able to hold on to it. Toth in second, and it looks like Mike Witkowski there in the third place spot coming around the outside, and it looks like, oh, actually, he got a drive on Toth. And oh, I didn't see that, but he did actually make the pass on Josh Toth. And then here comes our FMF XC3 class, Mikey.
And yes, that was Paul Whibley getting out in front. And duly noted, I'm not sure we caught it on the broadcast, but this is Jason Thomas's last race as a pro rider, he mentioned. So Jason Thomas looking to come out there and come away with the win. But right here out of the gate, it's all Paul Whibley taking that whole shot. And noted as well, Taylor Jones out there racing the FMF XC3 class this afternoon as well.
Yeah, and there is one of our XC3 riders. I believe that was Chris Venditti that just came by. So these are the XC3 guys, I believe, that are working their way through. There we see some of the guys a little bit further back in that XC2 class. And there we see one of our 250A leaders. Look at that, Jojo Bowden, the number 444 machine.
Right.
He's coming charging through from that 250A class. He's been out with an ACL reconstruction after injuring that at one of the races earlier this year. Again, already worked his way well up into the XC2 class. So that's one we'll have to keep an eye on today for sure. 747, that's the Hunter Neuwirth, another XC3 machine. And, you know, we'll see a little bit different number today on Jason Thomas. He's sporting that number 1 that presumptuously he thinks he's going to earn today, which obviously he's well on his way. He seems to have it in the bag, but I must say it's the first time I've ever seen somebody earn a number before or run a number before they've actually earned it.
Yep, that's true.
I like Jason. He likes controversy, so I'm just going to call it out. I guess he's planning on this, from what he was saying on the starting line, this being his last race, and he wanted to run that number since he feels he's earned it. And as long as he gets his job done today, then he'll have done that in that case. But again, I've never actually seen that done before. So Jason Thomas always breaking ground. You know, he's one of the ones that was behind getting this XC3 class some legs. The class was kind of created around him. So fitting that he would be the first champion if he can get that done today. And also, again, you know, just breaking new ground, running numbers before they've clinched them up. So Jason always keeps things interesting, that's for sure.
Well, he's not the only one that can wrap up a championship today. We go to XC2. Josh Toth can wrap that one up. And XC1, Caleb Russell can also wrap that one up. So we could crown 3 different classes national champions today. And it's very, very possible for sure to see all 3 of those guys come away with some number 1s after today.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, exciting stuff going on in all 3 of our pro classes this weekend. And again, Caleb Russell chasing that win number 46, I believe that would be. That's a storyline in and of itself. And also, look at this. We've got our leader, XC1 leader, in that bright new Liat gear. That is the 264 of Ryan Sipes. You know, we've talked about how Ryan's speed is so good early in these races, which is what really sets him apart when you get over to those sprint-type races like the International 6 Days Enduro. You know, he really, really just kind of shines there, and he's good at taking a look at the track and really sprinting. And I'll tell you what, when you talk about sprinting, where's second place? There he is. And it is the number 1 of Caleb Russell, but he is way, way behind. I mean, we're looking at upwards of 30 seconds for certain.
Yeah, that's one of the things Caleb talked about this morning in the pre-race report was it's going to be rocky, it's dusty. You want to be the guy out front early so that you can literally put these guys in the dust so that that's one less thing you've got to worry about. So here we find there's no dust in front of him, but the only reason is Ryan Sipes is way out in front of him.
And we saw Caleb Russell taking a look over his shoulder, and he was looking back looking for the third-place rider, which at this time appears to be the number 5 JCR Honda of Trevor Bollinger. So Bollinger been looking for that breakthrough ride all year long. He seems to start slow and kind of come on strong. Last race we saw him charge up to the rear wheel of Jordan Ashburn, almost nipping away at that third-place spot in the XC1 class, which still would not have put him on the overall podium. Obviously, we had 2 riders out of the XC2 class last weekend, or 2 weekends ago rather, that were able to put themselves up on the podium. So we did see it look like Ricky Russell in 4th. That appears to be Grant Baylor in 5th, and Jordan Ashburn in the 6th place spot. So as we're joined here in the booth by Rodney Tomlin, what we're looking at here, folks, right now is a Ryan Sipes runaway. A huge lead for the 264 Coastal Racing Husqvarna of Ryan Sipes. On screen now we see Russell Bobbitt, the 113 FMF KTM. And there is the 523 XC2 leader, Lane Michael. We've seen him do it so many times this year. He sprints early, he gets up front, and but right now he's, getting a little whiskey in the dust there. He's riding in Russell Bobbitt's dust, and it's making it a little bit tough on him. One good thing, he may not be able to see, but we can sure see him. Rodney, look at that helmet on Lane Michael today. Wow. That thing is bright.
Yeah, you can see that day glow through that dust, that's for sure. Wow, 43-second lead for Ryan Sipes over Caleb Russell. But, you know, slow is fast here is what the key word has been basically all weekend. Right now, Ryan Sipes is running fast and about 45 seconds a lap faster. So, you know, you have to wonder if Caleb's just kind of just back there just honestly just trying to get through the day and obviously looking at the possibility of a 5th championship title wrapped up here today. But, you know, it's a race win that he's looking at. This is, I think, just early race strategy for him. I think he knows where he's at in this race, and he knows that traditionally, Ryan, when he gets out like that, if he starts running like a rabbit, sometimes he gets into a little bit of trouble. That might be what he's banking on, but you can't always count on that to happen. I mean, that sometimes happens, yes, but we'll see what happens. Today's conditions could certainly give us a lot of different scenarios that unfold today, Johnny.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and like we've talked about, we do have some championships potentially on the line today with obviously, we've got the XC3 championship on the line. We already talked about that a little bit with Jason Thomas. That XC2 championship potentially on the line with Josh Toth, who we did just see on screen there a moment ago in the 2nd place spot, and just, I mean, merely inches behind your leader, which was Lane Michael. So those guys are battling it out already. Lane Michael wanting to do everything that he can possibly do to stop Josh Toth from being able to wrap up that championship today.
And then yeah, and he's just under 4 seconds right now out of being in the 3rd place overall, just an FYI.
Yeah, that's a pretty good battle. There's you know, so much going on here and in the dust. I mean, these things get so complicated. It's kind of a race within a race. These guys are trying to keep themselves going, but they're also trying. It's hard to manage gaps in this dust, so it's going to make these championship battles even that much more interesting. You've got to think about the fact that these guys are racing for a championship in zero visibility.
Yeah, that's a good point. One good positive thing about it is there is a nice little breeze that's blowing, so as the dust plumes do pick up, they do get blown away kind of quick. So unless you're really close to the rider in front of you, you might be able to weed your way through it.
There was Jason Thomas, the #1 machine from that XC3 class. Did not see if he was leading. Kind of have doubts that he would be because he was a little ways back off the start. Oh, but there's the guy we expected to maybe be in front of him. Jack Edmondson is behind him. So Paul Whibley was leading the way early, but it seems right now Jason Thomas is pinned and determined to try and earn that #1 plate that he's running today.
Well, as we said, Sipes out front, Russell in 2nd, Trevor Bollinger, the rookie, running in the #3 spot. Lane Michael from the XC2 class leader in 4th place. Josh Toth, who is only 5.2 seconds back in 5th. 6th place, Ricky Russell, the 212, is running 6th overall right now. Craig DeLong, the #9, is 7th. Out of Morgantown, PA. Stu Baylor, your XC1 rider, in 8th place. Grant Baylor, his brother, is in the 9th place overall. Jordan Ashburn rounds out the top 10. Looking down through a couple of riders, I'm kind of surprised, at least one in particular, well, 2 actually. Jordan Ashburn back in 10th place in these conditions. And honestly, I expected to see the 114 of Josh Strang a little further up in the standings right now as well. So don't know what's going on with him. I know that, you know, we talked with him this morning. He seemed rather optimistic about what the day held, but he's all the way back in 25th place position. He had a 26:18 lap time, so he's going to step things up the rest of the race. He's got time to make up, you know, some positions and stuff out there. But whatever happened on that first lap, hopefully he can overcome that.
Yeah, you know, it's been a big question mark all year. Josh Strang's kind of been hit or miss. You know, early in the year, he had some strange issues, and we know he was working on coming back from that foot injury that's been holding him back. And, you know, he seemed to be making progress. It was slow. He seemed frustrated by how long it was taking, but it was steady progress there. And then it seemed like as he kind of got back to full strength, and we started seeing him battling for top 5 or top 10s and then top 5s. And then since then, it's just been, I don't know, strange issues. You know, at the John Penton, we saw him put the bike on the stand early and call it a day with some unknown issues. I believe he had some other issues possibly at the New York GNCC. I can't remember exactly. And then I know just 2 weeks ago at Unadilla at the other New York GNCC, he was he pulled in, and I think they had a torn radiator hose, and they weren't able to fix it and get him going again, and he called it a day. You know, so wow. It's got to be frustrating for him knowing this is a former champion of GNCC, a guy who's won who knows how many races, you know, I'm sure double digits, and it's got to be frustrating for him out there wondering, you know, what do I got to do to get on the side of good luck again? Right,
yeah, exactly. You know, and talking with him, you know, he's been here for some well over a decade now, you know, about a decade or so he's been racing here. And actually, I think it is 10 years. He says 9 years in GNCC, 1 year that he spent on the West Coast, if you remember. I kind of forgot about that until he brought that up, and that was a pretty big bump in the road as far as his tenure here as a GNCC racer is concerned.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, he won that championship, I believe it was in 2011, and then Suzuki folded up shop, and you know, they just lost their budget, not just for GNCC, but racing as a whole. You know, they shut down their motocross team, they shut down their ATV team, they shut down all things racing. The budget just wasn't there for it. Suzuki was not doing well as a company, and that unfortunately left the standing GNCC champion, Josh Strang, without a ride. He was not able to secure a ride during that off season to come race GNCC. He was able to secure a ride with a, you know, at the time lesser known team of RPM KTM. They wanted him to race some West Coast stuff because that's where they're based. He agreed to do so, signed a contract, you know, had a house out there, and was going to live and race there, and did come back and race, I believe, one GNCC at the John Penton in 2012.
We got some reports that Chris Bach's been having some issues. Mikey Wayne's down in the pits to find out what's going on.
Hey, yeah, Rodney, I had a chance to catch up with the KTM pit crew down here for Bach. He had to pull off early on lap number 1. Just some rear brake issues, nothing too major, but they got her worked out, and he's back out there rolling.
All righty, thanks for that update. That kind of stinks, but you know, I heard a few other folks having rear brake issues. Johnny, what is it with rear brakes here? Are you on them a lot? You just getting them banged around a lot? Well, I mean, probably some of them getting ripped off on some of those rocks and stuff, right?
Yeah, I mean, there could be a lot of things. I mean, these high-speed straightaways mixed with the dust, you have a tendency kind of out of self-preservation to drag that rear brake, which certainly could overheat it. But the big issue, I think, with a lot of, especially on the ATVs and even some of these bike guys, if you're not running a real good quality rotor guard, you know, it's easy to bend a rear rotor. And once you bend that rotor, you're not going to have any brakes until you come in and either swap out that rotor or at least get it straightened out somewhat, which can be a lengthy process. So I'd be curious to find out exactly what they were able to do with Chris, if it was just a, you know, just a simple bleed job, or if they were in there and having to straighten rotors, because that could really dictate how this day pans out for him. And Rodney, as I'm looking down our top 20, one thing I want to point out, a rider we saw on screen early that was charging was that number 444 KTM of Jojo Bowden. We noted that he was well up into the XC2 Pro Lights class physically, currently running 16th overall on the first lap. Now, don't get me wrong. We've seen our 258 riders work their way up, potentially run in or near the top 20 overall, but we've never seen one up into nearly the top 15 overall on the very first lap. That is a blistering pace set by the 444 of Jojo Bowden. I know he's not from here, but he kind of considers his home. He's around the West Virginia area a lot, and obviously comfortable in these rocks today.
Yeah, obviously he is, as we watch. And Oh, thank you very much. And watch his greatness. You know, we saw that yesterday with an ATV racer from the college A class, actually, working his way all the way up into a 9th place position overall, and at one point was 7th. Pretty interesting what these rocks in West Virginia can do, as some riders finding a little acceleration through these types of conditions, while others find themselves struggling. Right now, though, we are working on lap number 2. We are some 12 or so half a minutes, actually probably closer to 15 minutes from the completion of lap number 2, because our track is actually about a mile longer on lap 2 than it was on lap 1. You start out, the riders actually started out at about mile marker number 1, or just past it, so we'll have a little bit of extra time leading into the finish line this next time around. So we can expect those just under 23-minute lap time for your leader at 22:49, and 23.5 for Caleb Russell to increase just a little bit, probably by another 2 to 3 minutes, quite possibly, depending on the speed of what's going on. Generally, it's in the neighborhood of about 3 minutes a mile, 2 point so many minutes a mile. Is what the average speed of a GNCC is. But we'll see what today's speeds are as we check in. I believe that's our leader coming there, is it not?
Yes, it is, Rodney. That is Ryan Sipes, the 264 Coastal Racing Husqvarna, that bright new Liat gear. Easy to pick him out. Well, that and the fact that he's not in a complete cloud of dust like everybody else is. But the good news for Caleb Russell in that 2nd place spot, depending on how you want to look at it, he's got clear vision as well.
Oh, yeah.
Ryan Sipes is checked out, folks. I expect that we may see a run by Caleb Russell to run him down, but right now, Ryan Sipes is riding as if it were a special test over at the International 6 Days Enduro. He is just pinned, and he's saying, boys, I may not be able to hold this to the end, or maybe I might, but right now I'm showing you the fast way around this place.
It's a hot day today, too, and I'm sure Ekron, Kentucky has had its days of hotness over the last little bit, so training probably going to come into a key position here for him. And I know a lot of, at least where I'm from, Johnny, and I don't know, probably where you've been, you know, the temperatures have been kind of cool over the last month or so in reality, especially the last couple of weeks, but in the last few days, man, things have really heated up. And we're here today. There's Caleb Russell.
Speaking of heating up, look in Caleb Russell's dust shadow there. We've got the number 5 JCR Honda of Trevor Bollinger putting some heat on Caleb Russell. He was right there. He closed that gap up quite a bit. That was I believe almost a 20-second gap when we saw them in scoring, and it's now down to less than 5. So wow. Trevor Bollinger hard on the throttle, and he is trying to run down that number 1 FMF KTM of Caleb Russell. Look at that dust, and that's only one bike. Imagine being back behind 6 or 7 guys. You just can't see a darn thing.
Well, I like how some of the riders are trying to use the outer edges that kind of smooths the race set track out for them, and might gain them a little bit of time in the end. But again, we got to go looking for the smooth line out here. There's not a lot of those, Johnny. You were out there yesterday. There's not a lot of smooth lines, but if you ride it right, you can find a smooth one.
Yeah, there's definitely not a lot of smooth lines out there, but you know, it's tough. You got to pick your way through, and you know, on an ATV, you kind of don't have as many options as far as staying away from the rocks. You just got to pick the rock that looks the weakest and beat up on it. You know, because you're going to hit them, you're going to smash off them, your wrists are going to hurt, you're going to ruin the bike. But you just, like I said, you got to kind of, it's like being a geologist. Caleb Russell now working his way through this this section. We got a little checkpoint there and a left-hand turn, and they head down into some more rocks. But you got to be a geologist. You got to know which rock is the softest and which one's going to do the least damage to you and your machine.
There are soft rocks, huh?
I don't know. I'm pretending.
I thought maybe you had a better answer than that. But out here, that's one of our checkpoints we're looking at right now, even though we're frozen here. 36 minutes now into this race itself. And, of course, Ryan Sipes out front and made, I'll tell you, honestly, being out front today, it's a pretty big accomplishment for him. I know Ryan, he's seen some struggles so far this season, and anytime that he can get out front and run like that, it's got to feel good. And we actually had a chance to catch up and talk with him a little bit about some of the struggles and what's going on there.
I'd say this year I've just been, it's been tough. It's been inconsistent. I've been on the box a few times. I've been far away from the box a few times. Couple little nagging injuries and some things, and some people say I'm getting old, but I don't know what it is. Maybe that's it, but I'm just working every day to try to be back, you know, on the box and back up where I feel like I belong. Yeah, I think GNCC's fun. It's I definitely don't have fun all the time. I think there's races that I wonder why I ever decided to do this, because it's really tough. But in the same, you're never going to love every second of what you do, no matter what you're doing. So I'm just trying to do my best at it. I try to be the best that I can be, you know, every weekend. So when I'm not the best that I can be, it drives me to be better, to try to practice more and all that kind of stuff. So not giving up on it at all. I'm working harder to try to get back up there.
You know, that's part of the, I think, what I get from Ryan when I talk to him. He's not done. He's got a lot of incentive out there, and he's still trying. And the fun part of it, I still think he's having fun. That's what kind of surprised. I'm not going to lie, I'm a little surprised. I thought coming from the MX side of things that Ryan would have a little different outlook, maybe be a little more spoiled kind of attitude. But in reality, he's about as down to earth and normal a human being and racer that you're ever going to find, I think, out there. And I think that's part of the greatness of Ryan, if you want to know the truth.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I really wish I've had a couple of podiums with him this year where I'm talking to him. He's in good spirits, but it seems like the poor guy's had some tough breaks throughout this season. Some stuff that's, you know, either mechanical issues or what, not necessarily any fault of his own, but he's had a tough season. And I think seeing him out there right now is refreshing. I hope he can hang on to this lead. He's got a guy back behind him that is certainly going to have something to say about that. But so far, so good for Ryan.
Oh, yeah, he's got a guy back there, but we'll see how far he is back there. Last time around, 43 seconds. These guys do in less than 10 minutes now as we check in with another one of those wonderful rock gardens. This is the FMF PowerPoint portion of this racetrack, and looking at these rocks by comparison to yesterday, still a whole bunch of them, and they're still pretty tough to traverse. Joined here by the WXC and I believe overall winner from this morning, if I'm not mistaken, right? Becca Sheets is here with us. Becca, man, what is it about you and these rocks? You guys just seem to have a great relationship out here.
I was talking earlier. I used to not like the rocks. I hated them. I was not a good technical rider, and over the last couple of years, I've really put in the time to learn how to ride technical stuff, and especially rocks, because I've always struggled with it. And I just love the rocks. They're a good challenge, and I think it's cool. You kind of just stand up and just let your bike dance underneath you all day, especially here. There was a lot more rocks this year, and I really enjoy them. It's a good time. That's
great, and I like how you put it, stand up and let the bike dance.
Yeah.
We kind of talked about that, I think, yesterday. We'd mentioned something like that. But anyway, that's cool, and I'm glad to see that, you know, you found that you were able to overcome that one thing that was really troubling you. Is there any other thing that you're looking to overcome as far as your racing is concerned?
I feel like I've really covered all the bases in my Gncc career. You know, just I learn as I go. But right now, I'm pretty good at all of the terrain that we do have.
Just gotta stay good and get better all the time.
Yeah,
right?
I just gotta work on my speed now and minimize the mistakes with the speed.
Well, 40 minutes into this race, Ryan Sipes leading Caleb Russell. Trevor Bollinger not far behind from the last check that we had. We look at the timing and scoring. He was only about 10.5 seconds behind at the end of that first lap of racing. So Bollinger's still right there on the skirt tails of Russell. So he's trying to keep that vision there. And I don't know if Caleb's not trying to break away, whether he's trying to chase down Ryan, but it almost looks like Caleb right now is pretty satisfied, pretty comfortable with where he's at, and he's riding. And again, still a very attacked, aggressive mode of riding by Ryan Sipes, but I think that's a mode of riding that basically that's the way he rides all the time.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right, watching. There we go. Some of our trail bosses out there working through the rock section. You know what, Becca, one of the things, I can't remember who was talking to me about it, but they talked about the WXC class. You guys have the ability to work through lappers like it's nobody's business. I mean, you guys just do an amazing job at it out there. Obviously, it's still an issue for our pros out here this afternoon. I mean, what's kind of the mindset, you know, as the race wears on, especially in the 3-hour? I mean, you're inevitably going to have to deal with some of those lappers. What's the attack on that?
At a place here where it's so rocky, sometimes passing the lappers gets a little bit sketchy because they might not have the balance that you do to get through. So, you know, a rock might shoot them right into you as you're passing. So you kind of just have to pick the right spot and trust the person that you're lapping and just get by them as fast as you can, 100% effort just to get right by them. And, you know,
hope for a lot of luck, right?
Yeah, hope for a lot of luck. Sometimes it doesn't work out, but that's all right.
Well, obviously, if you do it with confidence like you girls have learned to do and have had to do, you know, it gets a little easier as time goes on. Back to our leader out front here. Oh, no, that wasn't Ryan, but here's second place right there through the FMF PowerPoint now, Caleb Russell. And look at that. There is the rookie in the JCR Honda of Trevor Bollinger, and making his way right behind and in the shadows of Caleb, man. I mean, if I'm sure he can tell what kind of fuel he's using just from the smell of the exhaust fumes right there. There's Ricky Russell, not too far off pace either. Looks like he may have moved up a few spots. At last check, he was in 6th, so that moves him up to 4th physically on the racetrack. Actually, I believe he was 4th already. We got a couple of XC2 riders in on adjusted time, Lane Michael and Josh Toth. So Ricky Russell is in that 4th place position, right where he should be. He was about 9 seconds behind Trevor Bollinger. That gap has opened up quite a bit, though, and that is one of the big. Oh, look at
man.
Baylor. Man, getting crazy going into this rocky section of the FMF PowerPoint. Goes down now, picks it back up. And, you know, he doesn't slow down. It doesn't seem to slow his momentum down. He's picked right back up the momentum he had. And maybe for a moment, momentary lapse of reason and movement forward. There's little brother.
Stu's one of those guys that just, when you watch him ride, you're like, my goodness, how is he even hanging on to the bike sometimes? It's unreal.
See, that's why he can afford to go down like that, because he makes so many leaps and bounds that one few seconds on the ground, he makes up twice that whenever he is going fast.
So
there's the 523. Wow, these guys are getting really close physically on the racetrack, or at least Lane Michael is, as we power through this FMF PowerPoint. I mean, in the reality of it, he's not real far behind Caleb Russell when you look at the big picture right now. There is the 209 of Josh Toth running in that second place position of that class, and he is point leader, looking to hopefully he is hopefully going to take his first XC2 championship, is what he was telling me earlier today. So that's pretty impressive. There is the number 9 Craig DeLong making his way through the FMF PowerPoint now, and the riders seem to be traversing this section of the racetrack fairly easily. We go back to the slower is faster thing, and you know, you look at Stu Baylor approaching that section of the racetrack, and Craig DeLong going through there just a quick few moments, or even Grant Baylor as far as that goes. Both those riders seem to make it through a little bit quicker through that section of the racetrack, going a little bit slower. There's the West Virginia race fans sitting idly by, watching the excitement unfold here before their very eyes. Wondering if they're going to see Caleb Russell clinch that championship here today, and possibly the 46th win to tie Scott Summers' all-time win record. And I know Ryan Sipes would like to be the one that would certainly, I'm sure there's a lot of guys that like to stop him in that path right now, but we'll see if anybody can do it. Right now, taking a look at the points, or this situation, we should be seeing in about 3 minutes the leaders checking in at the finish line. So we're going to be heading to a break here in just a couple moments, and then we'll be back. Hopefully we'll catch those guys. But Ryan Sipes leading, Caleb Russell, Trevor Bollinger in 3rd. In the overall right now, leading the XC2 in 4th place overall, Lane Michael, Josh Toth. Ricky Russell is 6th, Craig DeLong in 7th, Stu Baylor in 8th. 9th place is Grant Baylor, and Jordan Ashburn rounds out the top 10. The questions begin to loom. Is Caleb Russell going to be able to do it as we approach the 1 hour mark of a 3-hour race here at Marvin's Mountain and the Rocky Mountain ATV MC Mountaineer Run GNCC? We'll be back right after this.
GNCC is Old Eagle 50 cal, cowboy boots, diesel trucks, Copenhagen, Bush Light kind of men.
I'm a sore loser.
I'm a sore loser. Losing is not an option for me.
Be the best.
The best. The best.
You have to have the best equipment under the hood.
That's why I only use
Cometic products in my engines.
Cometic gasket.
Cometic gasket.
Cometic gasket.
Cometic gasket, a superior quality gasket
for those of us who demand the highest level of performance.
I'm Barry Hawk, 8-time GNCC champion, current Coastal Racing team manager. Coastal Racing depends on Evans coolant because there is a lot of variables in GNCC racing. Toughest, most demanding sports there is. From my experience, without a doubt, Evans is the way to go. We have it in all of our race bikes, our race ATVs, our UTVs. It is for sure, without a doubt, a must on our race team. The pros use Evans coolant, and so should you.
And welcome back to GNCC Live as we pick up the action. Ryan Sipes nearing the completion of lap number 2 here at the Mountaineer Run GNCC as he continues to lead Caleb Russell here. Nearly a minute, 43 seconds is what we had at the end of lap number 1. We're forecasting the possibility as much as 60 seconds as these riders make their way toward the end of the second lap of racing here. And of course, a little longer on this lap time if you're watching timing and scoring at home, as the course on the first lap about a mile shorter, starting out off the starting line at about the 1 mile marker. So we should be seeing these riders, like we said, check in. We're about 3 minutes or so longer already on that on this lap than we were the first one, so we'll get the official lap times for you. I'm expecting somewhere in the neighborhood of about 25 to 26 minute lap times for these riders here. Johnny, is, man, I tell you, it's already been a pretty exciting day, but at the same time, things have kind of settling in pace for some riders. There's Caleb Russell making his way around now, and right there at about that 45-second to a minute mark.
Yeah, you know, it's crazy to see the pace that Ryan Sipes is putting down. But again, we've talked about the fact that we know he has that sprint speed, and we've seen him, you know, hold it throughout a 3-hour GNCC. Fitness is not a problem for him. It seems to be these small little things that either mistakes that he makes or kind of strange issues that pop up mid-race. But I tell you what, if Ryan Sipes can keep his act together today, which we all know he's capable of doing, he's done it before, his pace right now is unbelievable.
Going down through Auxiliary Pro Row right now is Ryan Sipes. He just checked in a lap time of 25:46, just under that 26-minute mark, as we expect. So now the waiting game begins to go, and we wonder what's this 43-second gap going to look like? Is it shrinking? Is it opening up to a little bit larger gap there between Sipes and second place? Here
I'll tell you what, it's bigger. It's got to be, because he's already come through Auxiliary Pro Row, and Caleb Russell isn't even through the finish line yet.
1 minute, 14 seconds. Wow, lap time 26:16. Another 30 seconds basically added on to that gap. Wow, that is amazing amount of gap that we got opening up there. But I think equally as impressive with Ryan Sipes and that gap opening up is the fact that Trevor Bollinger is keeping Caleb Russell about as honest as anybody can keep him right now. Only 5 seconds off that rear wheel.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and Caleb Russell, we know, we've seen him kind of struggle with this at this track before and some of the other rocky tracks. Early in the race, Caleb runs a very stiff suspension setup. And as the track isn't quite as rough early in the race, and especially in the rocks, it seems he struggles with that comfort and with that confidence into a corner, which is where Caleb Russell makes his money, is his corner speed. So his setup, his bike setup, but he likes it that way, and it just doesn't kind of play into his favor early in these races. Now, that's not to say that as this race develops, he may not get more comfortable with that setup, more comfortable with the track, and push the pace, because we've seen him do it so many times before here. I can remember Charlie Mullins back before the injury, or when he came back the first time from the injury. If you remember, those guys were pushing each other, and Mullins had pulled out to a big lead at the beginning, and Caleb started to run him down as the race went on. So Ryan Sipes, probably knowing this, is pushing the pace early and knowing that if he can get out front and get that gap, it's going to make it that much harder for those guys to potentially run him down later. But right now, like you said, the man on the mission really is Trevor Bollinger. We'll wait and see as Lane Michael checks in. He may be in a top 3 overall position.
And nope, 5th place overall. Actually drops off a spot there as Ricky Russell seems to have picked up the pace a little bit. Actually, Ricky Russell turning the fastest lap that last time around at a 26:10. Trevor Bollinger at 26:11. Caleb Russell at 26:16. Actually, Ryan Sipes had the fastest lap at a 25:46. So the second fastest lap was Ricky Russell there. Sorry about that.
The fastest lap of the mere humans.
There you go.
Ryan Sipes out there riding like a superhuman today.
And you look back at the history of this event since its inception in
2012. Do you know who the first winner of the Mountaineer Run GNCC was by chance? He's an XC3, I'll tell you that.
Oh, what?
He's an XC3
Paul
today.
Whibley.
Yeah, Paul Whibley took the win. Yeah. Caleb Russell took second. Andrew DeLong took third from the XC2. Jason Thomas, who's an XC3, took fourth. Rory Mead rounded out the top 5. That was year number 1. But here's something that I think is very neat about the history of the Mountaineer Run GNCC when you look back at it over the last few years. Caleb Russell, 2013, 2014, 2015, 2016, has topped the charts each and every time. This could be his 5th win here. I mean, it's really neat. If you look at it, the 5 wins here today in a row at Marvin's Mountain, 5 possible championships on the horizon, and of course win number 46 here. And you know, I had a chance to catch up with Caleb, and you know, oftentimes you don't really like to think about and talk about the great things, but in all honesty, he even says it himself. He's a little bit surprised at about you know, being in this position already.
Yeah, obviously to get win number 46 and tie the all-time record, it'd be pretty huge. I mean, it's been there for a long time, and Scott's, you know, been around for forever, and is a true off-road legend. So to be in the company up at the top of the list is really cool, and yeah, it's like I've said it before. I mean, it's not ever anything I set out to do. It's just the nature of the beast, and my, you know, the drive to keep winning. And once you get a little taste of it, you know, that's all you kind of crave. So yeah, I'd be really happy to get it tomorrow. In an off-road race, when it's dusty like this, I would say, you know, it's important, but it's not gonna make you or break you unless you're battling. You know, if Thad was here and I were to get a bad start and he got the whole shot, it'd be, you know, detrimental, and vice versa. But when you got 2 guys that are, you know, a little bit above everybody else, it's pretty important. But it's still important to get out front. But it's like I said, it's not going to make you or break. You got a lot of time to make up. It's a 3-hour race, so anything can happen, and you're gonna get into dust at some point with lappers anyway. So it's not like you're gonna be free and clear all day. So it's definitely important. It'd be nice, but the way my start's been going this year, it's, you know, I'm not banking on it, but we're probably gonna have to do some work to get to the front tomorrow for sure.
It looks like at least he looked at it realistically, you know, and it's really cool because, you know, he was talking about basically the scenario that's set up before him right now.
We've got a change for the XC2 class lead there.
Uh-oh.
Josh Toth has taken over the lead. Lane Michael in second, and Craig DeLong has closed up right to the rear wheel.
Wow.
And Mikey, did you catch that pit stop as they came through? It was Josh Toth coming in. They were all ready for him, standing there with goggles. He slid as he was sliding, pitched his goggles, moved his head to run into the goggles that were waiting for him, and took off as, I assume, his girlfriend.
Can we get a replay on that by any chance?
Oh, you're going to want to see this one, because the motioning afterwards is what really makes it. We'll have to see if they can cue that up for a replay for us. But it was a pretty good pit stop, but the afterwards is what really seals the deal on just the emotion. And that really is what you go through. I mean, you're fighting for seconds on the track, and especially in a dusty race like this, track position is everything. So if we do get a chance to see this, you're going to see exactly what these guys are willing to do to gain that track position so they're not in the dust.
It looked to me like what he was willing to do was maybe have an awkward conversation with his girlfriend later as he said no thank you to the Gatorade.
I don't know that was a no thank you as much as it was get that out of my face.
All righty, action back here on the racetrack again. Sipes checking in with 2 laps complete, a 1 minute and 14-second gap between he and Caleb Russell. Trevor Bollinger 5 seconds back, another 8 seconds back is Ricky Russell in 4th. Lane Michael now almost up to that 5th place position physically on the track. He is as well on time adjustment in the number 5 position anyway, and Josh Toth right behind him. Of course, that change was made just now in the pits is what these guys were talking about, but Craig DeLong right there, 12 seconds. Here's the thing that impresses me. Lane Michael, Josh Toth, and Craig DeLong, they set 15 seconds from 1st to 3rd in that class whenever they came through. That looked a lot tighter coming out of those pro pits, so this thing is really starting to heat up as far as the XC2 race is concerned today.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's these guys right now, all 3 of those guys are looking at it as obviously Lane and Craig want to be the one to stop Josh Toth from getting another win, you know, because he's been on a tear up until that summer break. Obviously, it was Lane Michael who was able to get the job done just a few weeks ago in New York, with Craig DeLong also on the podium in that third-place spot. But he was a little bit off the pace of the top two, which were Craig DeLong and another rider we have not seen anything from yet today, and that is Benjamin Kelly. Ben Kelly having a career-best ride with second place in that XC2 class and fourth place overall. So two, count them, two XC2 riders in the top 5 overall. So that was quite the day for those guys. And right now, we've got actually one XC2 rider in the top 5 overall with Lane Michael in the 5th place spot. But the XC1 boys are kind of keeping the pace up today, with Sipes really setting a blistering pace out front. Russell in 2nd, Bollinger 3rd, and the other Russell in 4th.
Well, FMF XC3 125 Pro-Am class, Jason Thomas in his last professional endeavor as a GNCC racer is out front 42 seconds over Jack Edmondson right now. Edmondson, the 118 from Waynesburg, Pennsylvania. The 99 Paul Whibley out of New Zealand is 3rd. Chris Vendetti is 4th out of South Carolina. Plantation, Florida's Hunter Neuwirth in 5th. And there's Taylor Jones out of Australia. The WXC champion trying her hand at the 125 XC3 class today on the 713. Then it's Mark Horesco in 7th, Devin Welch in 8th. Jaron Williams is 9th, and Joshua Adkins rounds out your top 10 in this FMF XC3 125 Pro-Am class. And again, you know, we talk about this class quite a bit, but I have to admit, I think I love this this class. You can use it as a stepping stone class if you want, or you can use it for something to recharge yourself and recharge your batteries and get back to the fun of GNCC racing, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's a little bit different class. There was once upon a time a you know, 125s just ran in whatever class they wanted to, and then it seems over time two-strokes kind of have been phased out, and 125 specifically, very few riders still choosing that little you know, quarter-liter machine. But after when it all said and done, you know, a lot of these companies got together and they wanted to have a class where they could showcase their products on those machines, and as such came about the FMF XC3 class.
Well, we were talking about this just a few moments ago. If you're watching at home on RacerTV.com, bike history at Mountaineer Run GNCC, the last 4 years has been won by Caleb Russell. We see names like Josh Strang and Charlie Mullins a few times. We see Thad Duval in there a few times, a couple of times. But, man, the most consistent name throughout that entire field is Caleb Russell, Caleb Russell, Caleb Russell. And, you know, he even said it, it's not my favorite track. I don't necessarily like the more technical tracks, but this is a track that I seem to always do good at. And these 4 wins prove it. And, you know, it was funny in that interview he was talking about it's not important to be out front early in this race. He says it's a long race. He says, you know, I'm not worried about being out front. Basically, just getting in a position to capitalize late in the race is what he's looking for.
Ryan Sipes is missing his front number plate.
See, those are the types of things that Caleb might be looking out for right now.
Well, it could be a situation. It could have just fallen off. I know, actually, I think in this morning's WXC class, I think the mechanic for the #1 machine of Becca Sheets, her subframe fell off.
I heard that dude is a total.
I don't know who that guy is, but he probably should be fired and beaten with a cat of 9 nails. Clearly mechanic error. So we'll unless we see otherwise on the time gap, we'll assume that maybe Ryan Sipes, that bolt just fell out, or a rock hit it, broke the bolt off. But I don't know. That may not be a minute 15. They may have chipped into it a little bit. So. Yeah, those rocks there in the Masontown soil, those things can jar just about anything loose, including your teeth. If you have any fillings, they'll fall out as well.
It looks like just a normal grassy field. It started out as a normal grassy field, but look at the rocks that just protrude out of the ground through there, man. I mean, I'm sure it was probably somewhat smooth the first couple of times you went through there yesterday, huh?
Yeah, well, I don't know if I would say it was smooth, but there was less rocks rolling around and less dust kicking up. But honestly, you know, it was kind of disheartening when I pedaled it beforehand. The Racer Productions track crew went out and did an excellent job of trying to keep us off of the beaten path that we've run in the past. They went into new fresh grass, like you said. And I was like, oh, great, new fresh grass. We'll get a couple laps out of this before it turns to dust. Well, no, because I pedaled it at, 7:30 in the morning before the youth race. By the time the youth ran this section and the 10 a.m. race ran this section, it was powder dust when we got there. So I was like, well, so much for my plan of getting a couple laps of no dust. It was dust right away. But, you know, hats off to those guys for going way out of the way to cut new, fresh trail through that grass track to try and limit the dust as much as they can, limit the rocks kicking up, and do everything they can to try and keep the riders safe. Caleb Russell there is the #1 FMF KTM. He is still in that second place spot. Ryan Sipes, they're saying, still has that lead of upwards a minute. I believe it was a minute 14 last lap.
Well, maybe it was a minute 14. For some reason, I'm thinking a minute 40, but yeah,
I think I think our report we got was that it was a minute 45, but I think that may have been a mistake, because that definitely was not a minute 45.
Yeah, that wasn't a minute 45.
But a minute 14 is what it was when they checked in at the end of the lap. We did get a radio report saying a minute 45. Maybe it had stretched to a minute 45 before that number plate fell off, but now with the lack of wind resistance, he should be able to go even faster.
Maybe, I was going to say, maybe that's what blew the number plate off. Maybe it's just the sheer speed of Ryan Sipes. I don't know.
Captain America.
Yeah.
Winning that ISDE overall, and he blows front number plates right off.
That's how fast he is.
There was Grant Baylor we saw on screen, still behind his brother, Stu Baylor. Even after his tip over in the rock garden, still holding tough in that #5 spot. Looks to be Josh Toth now leading the way. The number 206 reverse numbers of the green numbers, white background is Josh Toth in that black and white Answer riding gear. And here is the 514 of Stu Baylor. He's on screen. A little bit of a notchy camera there, but you get a good view of his backside and seeing exactly how he manhandles that machine. The next machine we should see should be the KR4 Racing Husqvarna of Grant Baylor, the 314 machine, a rider that had an excellent ride just before the summer break, went out and actually won our John Penton GNCC, and his first career ever win. A little bit of a disappointing performance for him 2 weeks ago at Unadilla. I'm sure he wanted to do a little bit better backing that up, but right now running in that 6th place spot and still within striking distance of trying to get up there and potentially battle for a podium.
Well, right now, as we look at this, we are just over an hour, at about an hour and 4 minutes as we watch the time clock tick away here. And again, just a great race. And
when I first came to pro class, I jumped in, and my years were a good bit different than they are now. They were more like, you know, we come out, we do
just going to go
decent.
ahead and apparently narrate our afternoon race for us. Russell Bobbitt on screen, Landon Wolf in your ear set there. If Landon, if you're watching at home, glad to hear your take on things. But, Russell Bobbitt right now, the one making the dust and dodging those rocks out in the fields here at Marvin's Mountaintop. Hard on the get. Oh, we got a rider down there. Looks like he is not getting up. Russell Bobbitt kind of motioning over like, hey, somebody going to go take a look at him there? Yeah, he must have been laying there a while because there was nobody in front of us yet. He is up and moving, so that is a good sign for him. He's probably just saying, darn those freaking rocks there.
Just got a text. We do need to make a quick announcement here at the track. Austin Walls head back to his camp area. Again, Austin Walls head back to his camp area.
There's the 282 of Michael Witkowski out of North Liberty, Indiana. He's the XC2 250 Pro, I believe, 4th place rider right now as we check in with him. He's 10th overall right now. He had about a 10-second lead over, I believe, Austin Lee, the 123, who is your 5th place ride. I didn't see if Austin had gone by yet or not. This might
There he is?
Yep. There he is.
Oh, did you see that thing get all dancy?
And there's a lot of kicker bumps on these hillsides and through these trails starting to develop. Now, Johnny, with the conditions being so dry like this, does that make for a different style of track? Other than the dusty conditions, I mean, does it break down differently and the bumps become different?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, that's a great question, and it is very true. You know, for instance, just 2 weekends ago at Unadilla, a track that normally has a lot of whoops and gets kind of chopped out, it developed completely differently because of the moisture in the ground. The track stayed together much better, but it was kind of a hard-packed slick, and then it would develop these square-edged holes where when it would finally start to give out, you know, it just develops these holes that are super deep. Just got a text from Landon Wolf saying, hey, I'm listening, and it was cool to hear myself talk. So, but yeah, you know, when the track is powdery like this and loamy, it gets almost what they would call in the desert silt, which is just kind of this moving ebb and flow of dirt that, you know, the wind can move it, a bike can move it, anything can move it. So you really can't trust the lines that you're looking at, because what looks like a good line when you get in there could be silt a foot deep, and underneath it, You know what there is? What did Jared Bolton say? There's a few
Oh,
of in the
more
track.
rocks.
Oh, more rocks. Yeah, more rocks.
I like more rocks.
Yeah, so there's rocks, and then there's some more rocks. So underneath this dust, there's those rocks, and those things can play havoc on not only trying to navigate to the line that you want, but also, you know, they can tear up a motorcycle pretty quickly. So we'll hope that these guys up front, we'd love to see battles, so the last thing we want to see is anybody have a mechanical. But, you know, these guys really got to watch out for what's lurking in the dirt below.
How would you like to run an old school homecoming GNCC style race here? No tire balls allowed or tire blocks or anything like that. Oop, what's going on here?
Hey, we're talking about damaged machines, and it looks like we've got one in the pits. The number 4 factory beta of Jordan Ashburn. Well, I'm sure we're going to get an update here real soon from our man on the know, Mikey Waynes. He's on his way over there to find out what's going on. Jordan is undressed, so we'll have to find out if that is a machine or a rider issue. We'll hope that it is machine, just because we never like to see our riders obviously get banged up. But he is there, and he's having a discussion with the mechanic and with his dad. So we'll see exactly what's going on there. We see one of our riders. This is talking of old school GNCC racing. We got a pair of jeans there. You definitely don't need the big fancy riding gear, although it does help. There is, I thought that was the 311 of Devin Welch, but that's the 301 machine. Another one, it's a, looks to be a 2-stroke there, but it is not an XC3 guy. That was a 250, you can tell by the pipe. But those FMF banners over there, those show you that we're in the FMF PowerPoint. The reason why is all these spectators up here, what they're looking at is they're watching these riders navigate their way through some big, bad rock.
Now, that's not actually an elevation change. That's just a rock garden, right?
Yep, there's no elevation change there to speak of. I mean, you make a slight left and head up a hill, but it's nothing you couldn't pedal up on a beach cruiser if it wasn't for those rocks there.
So it looks like we're going to be faced with a 7-lap race for these riders, according to timing and scoring and the officials now. So we're working on lap number 3. We're about 5-6 minutes due out for a lap 3 complete. So we'll get a...
Oh, look at this pass for second place. Trevor Bollinger has taken over the second place ride. Caleb Russell now in third, but he is on the rear wheel of Bollinger saying, look, man, this guy's on the move, and I think I want to go with him.
You know, this might actually be something good for Caleb Russell to follow along behind Trevor Bollinger. Bollinger's going to be running like a scared rabbit right now. And, of course, they may actually start to chip in on that lead that Ryan Sipes has. Getting some reports right now that Ricky Russell, our 4th-place rider, having some issues out there, but back up and going.
Yep, and there he is on screen, working his way through that FMF PowerPoint, the rock garden there. The next rider we should be waiting to see will be Stu Baylor. We'll hope he doesn't smoke that tree again and lay the bike down. That was a little bit of a rough go for him, but like you said, didn't lose much time, right back on it, on the gas, and in pursuit of Ricky Russell and that number 4 place position. So with the change for second there, as you pointed out, Rodney, that could potentially be a little bit of a kind of a shake-up and things there in... If Trevor Bollinger had a little bit better, faster pace, we see it looks like Stu Baylor entering into the rock garden takes a little bit different line this time. And, you know, he was a little snake bit by that one last time. But the one he picked this time is not a good line. That is a line that is quite a bit rockier, although it was a pretty direct line.
And he made it through without much issue there.
Yeah, so he made it. That outside line there is very fast, but there was a lapper in it. So I'm assuming he did not want to take a chance of that lapper going down and make him, you know, ride into some rocks he didn't want to be near. So a smart move on his part to take that alternate line. Didn't look like he made the pass, but Grant Baylor still hanging tough. There is the 314 of Grant Baylor, that KR4 Racing Husqvarna, hard on the gas and in pursuit of his brother.
Well, right now, an hour and 10 minutes into the race, about 3 minutes, and Mikey Waynes down in the pits to find out what's going on with Jordan Ashburn.
Hey, guys, down here in the beta pits, had a chance to catch up with Jordan Ashburn. He said he went down pretty nasty out there. He is done for the day. So that's it from here at the beta pits.
All righty, thanks a lot, Mikey Waynes. That's a hard pill to swallow sometimes, and I hate to hear that about Jordan, but oftentimes that might be the best choice that riders can make, especially if they knock themselves a little bit lulu, and that's a very extreme possibility here in the mountains of West Virginia for sure, with as many rocks as there are out there. But right now, less than 3 minutes, or about 3 minutes, I should say, to go before we should be seeing Ryan Sipes checking in here at the finish line. We've had reports of the gap opening up to as much as 1:45, and maybe even close to 2 minutes if we see the same type pace that we saw on lap 1 and 2. And it looks like Craig DeLong has also gotten around Lane Michael. Josh Toth is your leader, and now Craig DeLong has gotten around Lane Michael. And you got to wonder what's going on with Lane Michael. We're nearly in his backyard right now, Johnny, and he seems to be struggling here in this third lap of racing.
Well, I'll tell you what, you know, Lane's had some great speed early in these races and typically pulls out some big leads. But today, it seemed as though Josh Toth, who was second off the start, was displaced by Witkowski there in the third turn, but was able to get back into second right away and latch on to the back of Lane Michael. And I think what he did is he kind of mirrored that pace early. And then so many times this year we've seen Josh Toth turn it up as the race goes on. I think it seems he may have just turned it up a little bit earlier today, and he's been able to get around Lane Michael. And as was just pointed out to us, it did appear that number 9 of the Coastal Racing Husqvarna, actually Lane's teammate of Craig DeLong, has now taken over the second place spot. And Toth had opened up a pretty sizable little gap there. So just before when we went to that little break there, it was the number 206 of Josh Toth coming through there. And man, he was really hard on the gas, Rodney. He was not dodging the rocks, he was just hopping them. So I think he's off in pursuit not only of a win, but of trying, Russell Bobbitt, speaking of dodging, he's dodging spectators. Got a little squirrely there and shot off the track and said, hey guys, you might want to move, I'm coming through.
Well, Russell Bobbitt seeming to really find his legs here in the GNCC racing. You know, we've seen him battling top 5 quite a bit in the early part of our races this season. I have to think that, you know, with a little more experience and a little more dedication to GNCC style, Russell could be a top 5 threat all the time, maybe even looking at podiums if he can continue moving forward and advancing. But, you know, we got a thick field that he has to try to work through and advance over right now, too.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I mean, there's so many talented riders, so many riders that have grown up in this series that are used to the 3-hour ordeal of GNCC racing. You know, it's a completely different thing. Russell Bobbitt coming from an enduro background where the point is you just sprint in completely different terrain, mind you, than GNCC. You sprint for shorter periods of, you know, anywhere from, although they are on the bike all day, they sprint for shorter periods anywhere from, say, 5 to 6 minutes up to, you know, 9, 10, 12 minutes. So, you know, when he came here, it was a big change for him to have to keep that focus and keep that driving speed and determination for a 3-hour period. I mean, it's a long amount of time. Rodney, you know, it's hard on us just announcing for 3 hours. Could you imagine having to be out there and ride for 3 hours?
No. I really couldn't, man. You know, and this sounds funny, and for those folks that don't race and have never done it, 1 lap, 30 minutes under some intense conditions, running on average of 25 to 30 miles an hour through the woods out there like that, is really tiring on an individual. You do that by 1 hour, then 2 hours, 3 hours, and it really starts to add up.
Well, and the rider that is working now on 3 30-minute laps, or 26 and change minute laps at least, is the 264 Ryan Sipes out of Ekron, Kentucky, on that Coastal Racing Husqvarna. He is on the gas, on a mission, and right now he is on his way to leading another lap here at the Mountaineer GNCC. Look at him, he's riding these grass track sections as though they were a special test. And if you think about it, this is a rider that's kind of known as a moto background guy, killer in the grass tracks. But if we think back, Ryan Sipes had a breakthrough ride here and was up front leading this thing, or in the top 3 a couple times in the last few years. And
that's a lot closer.
We got the number 1 FMF KTM of Caleb Russell back around Trevor Bollinger in that number 2 spot, and he has chipped away a huge chunk of that lead that Ryan Sipes did have.
So we're somewhere in the neighborhood of we're in the neighborhood of about 1:14. We had reports of 1:40, now down to about 30 seconds or so. We'll know the official scoring here in just a few moments, as right there Ryan Sipes checking in, and Caleb Russell is making his way into the final few chicanes as well. And this will give us the true tale of the tape, a 26:59. So, wow, 1:15 slower lap time that time around for Ryan Sipes. And, man, he looked like he was hauling the mail even on that lap of racing every time we saw him.
Well, it is possible. You know, we do see that his front number plate is gone. That could play in. He could have had a crash, or, you know, could have, even after we saw him there, could have had a miscue or a tangle with the lapper, or just struggled in the rock gardens. Or sometimes the bad thing about being so far out front is your mind can wander. You can lose that pace. And now here is the number 5 JCR Honda of Trevor Bollinger in that number 3 spot and 3rd overall. And he is still in pursuit of the number 1 FMF KTM of Caleb Russell. Those guys are pushing, and they have closed up the gap on Ryan Sipes.
35.
Once was a 1 minute and 14-second gap, now 35 seconds.
35 seconds separating the two. Actually, it looks like really that was all done by Ryan Sipes. Ryan's lap time slowed down. Caleb's lap time stayed pretty consistent at the 26:20 mark. We see a 26:20 for Trevor Bollinger. He stayed about the same distance at the end behind Caleb Russell. There comes Josh Toth in. Now, this right here could certainly make things a little different. Ricky Russell checking in 4th place physically on the racetrack right now as our XC2 250 Pro Class leader now checking in. And look at how hard he's pushing right now. Some very aggressive riding by the 201 machine right now as he looks to wrap up lap number 3 and at the same time trying to put as much distance between himself and 2nd place, and we assume still is Lane Michael back there right now. Or actually, Craig DeLong, I think, had gotten around him. So there's DeLong. He is the 2nd place position.
Yep, the 2nd place racing, the Coastal Racing Husqvarna of the number 9 of Craig DeLong. He's hard on the gas, pushing, and look at that dust. You can really see what it gets like after just a few bikes coming through there. And kudos to those spectators, man. They're out there really cheering those guys on, and they don't even realize that they are in the danger zone. They are real close to the track. Lane Michael there, the 523 Racing. 523 of the Coastal Racing Husqvarna. We're getting a little ahead of ourselves there. Here is the 206, Josh Toth, hard on the gas. That NFAB M Pro Yamaha doing work right now. He's got a small lead over here. Our 2nd place rider, you can see there working his way around that tree. The number 9 of Craig DeLong. He is not going to let Josh Toth get away. A PA boy, he's used to the rocks. He wants to get that win. He has not grabbed one yet this season, and you know he wants to get one and also try and do his part to help stop Josh Toth from being able to wrap up that championship with 2 full rounds to go. And we're joined back in the booth with Mikey Wayne. Mikey, you've got, you know, looking out at this dust, can you imagine what it'd be like to try and not only traverse the course in this, but with everything that these guys have on the line, in a 3-hour race, the mental tack, I mean, it's, the dust itself, it's, you know, a little bit hard on your lungs, so it makes it harder to breathe, makes it harder to see. But the biggest thing is you can't see where you're going. That is really hard mentally and can take its toll on you over time. It's got to be more mentally tiring for these guys in this kind of dust.
Yeah, I mean, you're exactly right. It's not something you necessarily have to deal with for a second and it's gone. No, this is not a fast track. I mean, this is Gncc racing. It's a 3-hour race, so it's something they've got to endure, and you get through it one lap, you go out the next lap, you got to do it again, and then you got to do it again. And you're battling all these guys and jockeying for position, so certainly no easy task by any means, man. All right, so chalk this one up to the other West Virginia race in snowshoe. This season, which was tougher?
Well, that's a tough one for me to make a call on because I had a pretty bad crash right at the beginning of snowshoe.
Yeah, that's right.
So I didn't get to do the whole track. But snowshoe's tough. It's not as mentally taxing, though, as this one is. I mean, the dust, the rocks, you know, and the heat index on a day like today, you know, it really takes its toll on you. Caleb Russell in and out of VP Fuels Pro Row. He got himself a little bit of drink there. He is still ahead of the number 5 JCR Honda of Trevor Bollinger. He came in, got some fuel, got a drink, and look at this. Ricky Russell now has closed up the gap. He's still got a pit, though. That's where that gap came from.
So let's see. He's going to get some fuel, fresh drink, some new goggles, probably some water on the back.
And they're telling him, hey, so the battle for the win is right in front of you.
Yep.
You could speed it up just a little bit and become a part of that. We would like that. Thank you very much. Have a great day. Come and see us again in about an hour.
That's pretty much it right there.
Yeah.
I did see while I was over there, Nick Davis is out the race as well. He's got his arm all wrapped up. So he is done for the day. And I believe I saw Chris Bach heading back to the pits as well. I saw it's hard to miss Chris's riding style. He's tall, and he had the elbows up. That classic Bach style. So I think he was heading back to the pits. I could be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure he was heading back.
Here we see, speaking of the pits, the 514 SRT KTM of Stu Baylor in the pits, getting some goggles, trying to rip his helmet off there is his girlfriend, Jade. Looks like Big AG on the dump can, and the other guys are cheering him on and saying, hey, get out there. He's out of the pits and in pursuit in that 5th place ride. And look at this, here comes Little Bro. Those guys have kept it pretty close all day today. Looks like Grant had either already pitted or he's going to wait one more lap. That's what the dirt looks like up close here. Yep, there's another one coming by, and now we're cutting to, looks like out by the 4-mile marker. These riders should be coming by here in just a couple of moments. We'll wait and we'll see. I think the exciting thing going to be, what is that gap going to be from our leader Ryan Sipes to our 2nd place rider of Caleb Russell? We know it was 35 seconds when they came through scoring, down from 1:14. So a big change there. But now we're going to have to wait and see exactly what that gap is when we see him at our next checkpoint. So we'll have to keep that on screen. We'll get a good look at that, and that'll be the tail of the tape. I mean, you can paint it and sugarcoat it any way you want, but if the gap's going down, that means that Caleb Russell and Trevor Bollinger are doing the chasing, and if the gap goes up, then that means that Ryan Sipes is putting the hammer down, and those boys need to chase a little bit harder.
And how about Trevor Bollinger? I mean, he's flirted with this top 3 position all season, but he's not been able to seal the deal on a race yet. And I know he's talked a couple of times this season about not necessarily saying the XC2 came easy, but he said, man, when I stepped up to XC1, it's like a whole nother level starting on the same row as these guys. So kudos to the number 5 Honda of JCR Honda of Trevor Bollinger out there maintaining this pace throughout this race, and really right there in the thick of things to maybe even take a podium, said and done.
Yeah, well, I mean,
center of the box podium,
yeah,
that is.
But potentially even a win, like you said, you know. And one thing interesting to note is Trevor Bollinger is on the 250 machine. A big change for him coming back from summer break. You know, he was on that new 450 at the beginning of the season, and there is the number 1 Jason Thomas. He's out there. He's running that XC3 class. He's trying to get that championship wrapped up. He's taking a look over his shoulder to see, most likely looking for the number 118 of Jack Edmondson, the rider that we know was in 2nd when we last saw. But, you know, it's like you said, with all the things that are on the line, these guys, as much as they can't see in front of them, they're doing an awful lot of looking behind them. And what that tells me is that they want to know where their competition's at, because this is a tough, treacherous racetrack, and they don't want to expend any more energy early in this thing, as we do. Apparently, we're getting close to the halfway point, but nonetheless, we'll still call that early in the race. They're trying to conserve all that they can, and, you know, they don't want to go any harder than they need to. But one thing's for sure, Ryan Sipes has been going hard, and he's got that lead built up. But, again, Bollinger and Russell trying to chip away at it. Here is, nope, that's not our 2nd place rider in XC3. So if Jason Thomas was still looking for that 2nd place rider in XC3, he'd need to look a long ways back, because he's opened up quite a gap.
18 minutes left to go. It looks like here in lap number 4 of what looks to be a 7-lap race. Ryan Sipes leading Caleb Russell. We do see that Josh Choate has moved into the number 1 position in the XC2 Pro class and XC3 Pro-Am class. Jason Thomas leading that one. Right now, I'm not real sure how it's going to hinge as far as the championship is concerned, but Caleb Russell, we were looking at crowning 3 different champions here coming into this one today. There is the 99 of Paul Whibley we're seeing now, right?
Yeah, that appears to be, if Jason Thomas is still in fact leading, this would be our 2nd place rider now in our XC3 class. It was Jack Edmondson earlier, but it appears Paul Whibley has taken over that number 2 spot. We'll have to wait and see if that is the case when they check in. Oh, there is Jack Edmondson right behind him. I recognize that high-vis helmet. I'm nearly certain that that is the number 118 of Jack Edmondson behind him. Yeah, there it is. The high-vis camelback and high-vis helmet gives it away. That guy can't sneak up on anybody.
Well, as we were talking about those championships, the possibility of 3 championships, we could have had a 4th champion crowned this morning when we started out today. Zachary Davidson, Mikey, was looking at the likelihood of 15th overall position or better would have given him the championship. And as we were talking about that, word came in that there was rear wheel issues for him.
Yeah, it was a tough break for him. You could kind of tell, because Zachary Davidson and Peyton Whipke, they've both been battling all season long, number 1 and 2. You could kind of tell the pace of Zachary Davidson early in the race. He was kind of thinking, you know what, I think I've got this thing locked. If I can finish up in the top, and he was running top 5, consistent lap times, and then he came out there in lap number 5, had the rear tire issues, had to pull off the race, only got the 5 laps in, so obviously it dropped him down in the overall and wasn't able to seal the deal on that championship. But we know Zach Davidson. We know he's going to be back out there in round 12 to try and seal the deal.
But it also opened up the door for a first-time winner this season, right?
Yeah, Ryder Lebland picked up his very first win of the season. I think that might have been his first national win at that level for him. not positive on that, but I know it was his first run of the season regardless, so he was pretty stoked about that one.
Actually, Ryder's dad, Carl, is racing in the Senior A class right now, leading his class, Mikey, and I think that's a pretty cool concept there.
Yeah.
A family sport, there's no doubt about it. And actually, you had a chance to catch up with Ryder himself this morning after the big win, huh?
I did. So here we go. Here is the AM Youth highlights. And Rodney, you were down there on the hole shot, and I can't remember who got it out of the Super Mini class to get things going. That Mac Reimer had a rough, he had a great start, rough finish on that one. But this was kind of the first time this season, early on in this one, that we had several different names. I know Sean Myers was up there, and Ryder Lebland at the end of the day, man, celebrating that win, getting it. The goggles come off, and that was it.
So down here with Ryder Lebland. Ryder, man, first win of the season, took 11 rounds. You and Sean Myers battling today. How's it feel, man?
Oh, it feels really good. I've always done good in rocks, and well, I've actually never really done good here. I've never finished this race, so I was kind of scared coming into the race. Got a good start and led most of the race. Matt got past me, and when I got gas, and then I caught up to him, he collided with a slower rider. I got past him again. He was right behind me most of that last lap, and I just pulled ahead and got the win.
All right, man, we'll take it back to you guys in the studio.
All right, thanks, Mikey. And back to you, Mikey.
I'm exhausted.
That was quick, man. Quick work there. You're quick on your feet. And, congratulations to Ryder. I think it's cool that his dad's out leading that Senior A class right now as well. And we are looking at an hour and 28 minutes into this race. We are approaching basically the halfway point. So here at the end of this one, we'll be looking at lap 4 complete. We are looking at a 7-lap race for those leaders out there. We're about 13 minutes still, a little more than that due in before we'll see the leaders check in. A real quick overview of what's going on in the overall top 20. Sipes continuing to lead. As we said, that gap had dropped down to at least 35 seconds at that point. We haven't really got a visual on it to see what's going on in the last couple of check-ins, so we'll try to do that. But Caleb Russell, Trevor Bollinger, they'd swapped positions there for a few moments, and then Caleb got back around, and Bollinger about 5 seconds back behind them. Now Ricky Russell in the 4th place position. Josh Toth, 5th overall, leading the XC2 Pro class, the 250 Pro class. Craig DeLong in the 2nd place position. Stu Baylor, who is 5th in the XC1 class, 7th overall right now. His brother Grant is running 8th overall behind him. Lane Michael, the 523, now in 3rd place, is 9th. And Mike Witkowski out of North Liberty, Indiana, is also rounding out the top 5 in the XC2, or actually top 4 in the XC2 Pro class. Now, here's something interesting. If Josh Toth wins today, he'll lock up the championship. And here's this interesting scenario. If Lane Michael was to finish 2nd, and then win the next 2 rounds in Ohio and Indiana, at the end of it, according to points, and if Josh Toth was to finish 2nd, then they would literally be tied in points at the end of the championship season. However, on the tiebreaker, Josh Toth would win on the tiebreaker, so that's how we can establish, if he wins here today, him as the national champion in the XC2 class.
I tell you what, though, that has been a fun one to watch all season. Lane Michaels absolutely turned it on here at the end of the season, but it's looking like said and done if things stay how they are. Josh Toth going to be doing the celebrating here maybe at the end of this one, if not within the next couple of rounds.
Well, we're an hour and 30 minutes into this race now. As we said, about 13 minutes out from lap 4 being complete. Actually, now just under 12 minutes from lap 4 being complete. I want to take a quick look at what's going on here in the Mid-State Chevy Midway review. And as we take a look at this Midway report, again, your top 10, Sipes, Russell, Bollinger, Ricky Russell, Josh Toth, Craig DeLong, Stu Baylor, Grant Baylor, Lane Michael, Mike Witkowski rounds out your top 10. Then we got Russell Bobbitt in 11th. Austin Lee is 12th. Ryder Lafferty in 14th. He's an XC2 rider as well. Benjamin Kelly, XC2 in 14th overall. 15th overall is your FMF XC3 125 Pro class leader. He is also, this is his farewell ride, if you will, with Gncc Pro Racing. Dylan McRitchie out of Williamsport, Vermont is running in 16th out of the XC2 class. Then 250A class leader Alex Teagarden, 17th overall. Now, we had a 250A rider in that top 15 there a few moments ago, but I don't think it was Alex Teagarden, so that's kind of switched up a little bit. And we got Teagarden now in 17th, and that's where we're kind of used to seeing him leading the 258 class and leading the top overall amateur non-XC1 and XC2 rides. Paul Whibley is 18th overall. Jesse Grom, 19th overall. Jack Edmondson, who is 3rd in FMF XC3, rounds out in the top 20 overall. Now, class-by-class breakdowns. We'll go, we know what the pros are, so we'll go to the next class after that, which I believe we will start with 2 laps down for the senior 840 plus class. Actually, Carl is now 2nd place in that senior A class, but Jeffrey Odell, 755 from Woodford, Vermont, is 1st. Carl LeBlanc, Ryder Lebland's winner of the youth overall today, is running in 2nd place out of New Florence, Pennsylvania. The 51 of Shotgun Sean Remington out of New Salem, PA on the Infab M Pro Yamaha is 3rd. Chris Levin out of Huntington, Pennsylvania is 4th. Frank Tussle, the 417 from Scotch Plains, New Jersey, in 5th. 368 Chad Sander from Smithfield, PA is 6th. And 7th, 103 Christian Brumbaugh from Williamsburg, Pennsylvania. Continuing in the Midstate Chevy Midway Report. Be sure and check out all the great vehicles at midstatechevy.com. We look at our senior A40 plus class now, and Corey Jordan leading here, the 741 out of Gainesboro, Tennessee. Out of Waynesboro, Virginia, Adam Hollenkamp, the 161 in 2nd. There's about a 17-second gap there. Then Dominic Jarvis out of Wallace, West Virginia. Understand that these West Virginia floods here a couple of months ago was really devastated, and they lost darn near everything in one of the flash floods down there in the mountains. Good to see them back out here with us again this weekend. I talked with his mom, and they weren't real sure if they were going to be able to make it back this year, but it looks like they've been able to pull some strings and make some things happen, so glad to see that. 408 Cody Stevens out of New Cumberland, West Virginia is 4th. Matt Sorge out of Echo, New Jersey in 5th. We see the 219 George Douglas out of Weirton, West Virginia in 6th. 7th is Steven Schonkweiler out of Weirton, West Virginia. 8th place, Jacob Barnes from Lancaster, Ohio. Montrose, West Virginia. The 227 is Jacob Pritt in the 9th place position. As we take a look next, we see Blaine Kimmery leading this 250B class. The 427 from Charlotte, North Carolina. They're doing about 8 minutes for their 3rd lap complete, but Dakota DeVore, the 526 from Yerkesville, Ohio, is running 2nd. 441 Mike DeLosa from Gillette, PA in 3rd. 4th place, the 599 Brock Holloway from Somerset, Pennsylvania. 5th place, 428 Jonathan Harker from Morgantown, West Virginia. 6th place, Evan Stewart from Wadsworth, Ohio. 7th spot, the 419 Noah Martins from Frostburg, Maryland. 8th place, 358 Austin Hepler from Vandergrift, Pennsylvania. Chase Swedwa, that's Swede, I should say. Chase Sweda, the 223, 9th place from Flowery Branch, Georgia. And Cody Martin, the 350 from Cumberland, Maryland, rounds out your top 10 in that 250B class. Next, Chase Colville from West Sunbury, Pennsylvania, a 50-second lead on board the 318 in the 200B class over the 154 of Benjamin Wright, right out of Gillette, PA. Seth Bevington, the 577 from Worthington, Pennsylvania, is 3rd. 4th place, 597 Noah Stewart from Martins Ferry, Ohio. 5th place, 864 Brandon Keegan out of Cold Center, Pennsylvania. 6th place, the 402 Nick Haynes from Strabane, Pennsylvania. 370 Dylan Rutzel out of Butler, PA. He is your 7th place rider right now in the 200B class. Still working on lap number 2 for that particular rider. Kind of a tight race, 12 and 19 seconds separating 1st and 2nd, and 2nd and 3rd. Don't be surprised to see big things happening in that one. We go next, 4-stroke B lights class. Adam Parker leading this one from New Kensington, Pennsylvania. Actually, that's the 12 and 19 second. I thought the other class was not updated yet. But anyway, 12 seconds between 1st and 2nd. Eric Ross only 19 seconds back aboard the 430 out of Beverly, West Virginia. Garrett Robertson, the 730 from Randleman, North Carolina. And 4th, Zachary Tinky, 367 from Somerset, Pennsylvania. 6th place, Joe Spivey, the 333 from Collinsville, North Carolina. 724, Alan Braden from West Leechburg, Pennsylvania, 7th. 8th place, the 954 of Hunter Scott from Petrolia, Pennsylvania. That's your 4-stroke B lights class now as we look ahead to Morgantown, West Virginia's Jordan Overfield, the 609 machine in the Vet B30 Plus class, leading by 2 minutes 21 seconds over the 565 of Neil Hood from Huntington, Pennsylvania. Eric Kettering, the 921 from Elizabeth, Pennsylvania, is third. Fourth place, the 411 of Kevin Rammer out of Noonan, Georgia. Noonan. You know the movie, right? We got Sean Royal, the 424 out of Sugar Grove, North Carolina. Sixth place, 688, Tim Creeth out of Reedsville, Ohio. 407, Tommy Curtis out of Vincent, Ohio. Eighth place, the 919, Scott Dallin out of Waynesburg, Pennsylvania. Ninth place, the 403 of Glenn Haynes from Strabane, PA. And Jeremy Stawovey out of Smithton, Pennsylvania rounds out your top 10. 13 minutes before those riders check in, and next we check in with our next class. I believe we'll start looking at some A classes, maybe the senior A class next. Let's see if it updates here. And William Lackey from Hickory, North Carolina, the number 759. 16-second lead over the senior B40 Plus class rider, 107 Jeffrey Flynn out of Oldfields, West Virginia. 48 seconds back then is Gregory Richardson, the 944 out of Verona, PA. Tampa, Florida home, the Kelly Laborde, the 676. Then in fifth place, the 434, Mark Proper from Geismil, Pennsylvania. Sixth place, the 931, Darren Darmos from Amherst, Ohio. Seventh place, 819, Charles Ultimus from New Florence, Pennsylvania. John Masters from Morgantown, West Virginia. Rounds out your eighth place position in the senior B class. XC2 class, here's the way the top 10, the 250 XC2 class breaks down. Josh Toth, Craig DeLong, Lane Michael, Mike Witkowski, Austin Lee, Ryder Lafferty in 6th, Benjamin Kelly in 7th, Dylan McRitchie out of Williamstown, Vermont is running in 8th. Jesse Grom is 9th, he's out of New Jersey. And out of Sweden, Jesper Borgesson is here, and I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, but I don't think he could understand me anyway. He probably speaks English. But anyway, Jesper is here, and he's rounding out the top 10. Way to go. As we move to the FMF XC3 125, Jason Thomas looking for that, I think would be third national championship in his nearly dozen-year tenure here in GNCC racing. I remember when Jason Thomas first came to the United States, it was almost like a backdoor effort. He came in through Canada, as a matter of fact, because it was hard to get his visa into the United States, so he came in around the back door and somehow or another came to North Carolina and won a race. It was pretty amazing and pretty spectacular. But Thomas leading Paul Whibley now, minute 32 seconds. Jack Edmondson 3 seconds behind Paul Whibley when they checked in at the end of lap 3. Chris Vendetti in 4th place aboard the 491. He's out of South Carolina. We got Plantation, Florida's Hunter Neuwirth, 747. I'm saying keep an eye out for the Hunter Neuwirth in the future. This kid is going to make some big waves, I think, in the coming years. 713, Taylor Jones, your WXC champion in 6th place. Mark Horesco, the 412 from Pittsburgh, PA. 7th, 8th, Devin Welch. Revan Devin, the 311 from Canal, Winchester, Ohio. I remember that kid when he was a little tiny thing racing. We got Jared Williams, the 891 from Connorsville, Indiana. Joshua Adkins, 362 out of Londonderry, Ohio. We see Ben Parsons leading the Open A class from Orlando, Florida. He's riding the number 300, a 1-minute lead over the 47 of Zach Tussle from Scotch Plains, New Jersey. Kobe Backer at the 521 and 3rd from Zanesville, Ohio. 203, Tyler Brunton from Troutman, North Carolina on the 203. 5th place, 712, Bryce Costa from Sorrento, Florida. 67, Connor Smith from Denver, North Carolina. And 6th, Brady Myers, the 27 and 7th from Walker, West Virginia. And Zach Dodson out of Galloway, Ohio. The 512 is your 8th place rider. Open A class, that was who it was. Now we're 258 class. Your overall top amateur right now, non-XC class rider, Alex Teagard, the 309 from Waynesburg, Pennsylvania. Jojo Bowden, the 444 from Lockport, New York, only 7.7 seconds back. He was up a little further than that earlier in the race, if I'm not mistaken, in like a 15th place overall and leading. But we got a good battle going on between these guys. Hunter Bush, the 293 from Scioto, Pennsylvania. We got Jesse Ansley, the 28 from Miami City, Florida. We see 36 Chase Hayes from Sumter, South Carolina in 5th. 6th place 75 Eric Douglas from Martinsville, Indiana. Landon Bruno, the 916 from Halifax, Pennsylvania. 8th place, the 981 Jonathan Johnson from Landrum, South Carolina. Matthew Davis, 247 and 9th from Bertrandville, Pennsylvania. And Harlingen, Connecticut is home to Owen Guys, the 322, rounding out your top 10 in that 250A class. Hunter Reimer in the 200A class, 71, leading that one out of Saxonburg, Pennsylvania. 357, Johnny Manera out of Mill Hill, New Jersey. 3rd place, 463, Nathan Davis from Vail, North Carolina. 4th place, 235, Brody Johnson from Landrum, South Carolina. Teague Securo from Fairmont, West Virginia, 78 and 5th. 95, Cash Jacobs out of Sarasota, Florida, 6th. Reese Bruner, the 815 from Halifax, Pennsylvania, in 7th. And the number 539 from Oakdale, Pennsylvania. Old buddy from the MX world, Hank Hayes, here with us. Since the kid raced at Loretta's and the Minis, I was like, Hank Hayes. He's always had a name that and it's like a Tourette's thing for me. I can't not say it like that. But Hank Hayes is doing well in the 8th place position in the 200A class. Now, right now, as we look to the 4-stroke A lights class, Cole Madison out of Emmons, South Carolina, 332. 3-minute, 42-second lead over the 421 of Tyler Brandon out of Terra Alta, West Virginia. 330, Luke Ross out of Middletown, Virginia is 3rd. Bolton B. Roth out of Platttown, Pennsylvania. Platttown, Pennsylvania is 4th place, then 5th place, 151, Chris McManus from Morganton, North Carolina. Braden Moore in 6th out of Ona, West Virginia. 7th, Justin Murphy out of Morgantown, West Virginia, the 84. 8th place, 326, Brendan Poling from Grafton, West Virginia. 9th, Ryan Slobko, the 215 from Londonderry, Ohio. 10th, Matt Tavani, the 961 from Savoy, Massachusetts. Man, the floodgates have opened for the Northeast riders. There is Caleb Russell now checking in. Let's go back. I only got a couple more classes to check, but I want to check the overall right now to see where we are, and then we'll wrap up the Mid-State Chevy Midway report. We see that Ryan Sipes has checked in, and Caleb Russell is on his way to checking in with 35 seconds behind. There at the end of lap number 3. At the end of lap number 4, has Sipes been able to open things back up? Remember, he was the one that slowed down last time. He had a 26:35 lap time that time around, so I have to wonder, did Caleb pick it up here as the race is progressing? And as long as it's taken me to talk about this, I have to think that maybe that gap is open back up.
Yeah, it has opened back up, and another gap that's opened up is the gap between our 2nd place rider, Caleb Russell, and the number 5 of Trevor Bollinger. Hot on Bollinger's rear wheel now is Ricky Russell, so don't know exactly what happened there, but that gap, we saw it open up to just 5 or so seconds last lap.
Wow. 51 seconds is the gap. 26:51 lap time for Caleb Russell and a 26:35 lap time there for Ryan Sipes. So we can't necessarily expect that Ryan's going to start to wane away right now, because he does nothing but seem to continue to charge and get faster as the race wanes on.
Trevor Bollinger has quite a battle going on right now with a lapper. There was some mean looks exchanged. They crossed.
And there's Ricky Russell not far behind, too.
They crossed over each other 3 or 4 times, and Trevor Bollinger just couldn't seem to shake him. That lapper was giving him all he could handle.
Yes, he was, and that's opening up the door for Ricky Russell behind him.
Last couple of classes real quick. Sean Cunningham, 928 of Knoxville, Tennessee, leading the Junior A class. Andrew Boggs, 44 from Masontown, West Virginia, 2nd. Lucas Towery, 544 out of Lattimore, North Carolina, is 3rd. 4th place, Nick Mellinger out of Oakdale, Maryland, is 4th. 5th place, Joseph McCarty from Montclair, West Virginia. 431, Nick Bursch from Washington, West Virginia, and 6th. Lane Hoser, 610 and 7th out of Hamilton, Ohio, West Virginia's Casey Belt is your 8th place position. And your Vet A class. This would be the 30-plus class. Jedediah Haynes from Fairfield, Pennsylvania, 363, a 3-minute, 20-second lead over Joe Marsh, the 38 from Indianola, Pennsylvania. 92, Sam Forrester from Elkton, Maryland, is 3rd. 364, Nathan Allering from Cincinnati, Ohio, is 4th. Jared Hoffman, the 134 and 5th out of South Park, Pennsylvania. 6th place, 831, Bill Zavindi from Cabot, Pennsylvania. Benjamin Kolb from Spring City, Pennsylvania, the 414 and 7th. And James Singer from Belle Vernon, Pennsylvania, the 360, rounds out the 8. Boys, we got ourselves a big change going on out here, at least today. And, you know, the hype and the excitement that we were looking at is starting to turn into a little bit different situation. We're looking at Ryan Sipes, and correct me if I'm wrong, taking his first, what could be his first win of 2000. It would be his second.
No, first of 2017.
Yes,
yeah.
2017, yes. So that's and it plays kind of a spoiler there for Caleb Russell on a couple different levels. It's going to slow his progress down for his 5th consecutive title, quite possibly. I'm not sure. They'll let us know. He still might be able to secure the championship here, but I don't think so. I think he had to win today. I think he had to win, but regardless, I know it's going to be exciting. No matter how it pans out, whenever Caleb, or if Caleb does it today, whenever he's able to capture that 5th title. And right now, folks, watching out over this beautiful facility and just thinking about this weekend, Johnny, you know, kind of the homecoming that we've got here. It's unofficial. I think next year we ought to plan a covered dish dinner. Everybody bring their own plate. Bring a covered dish. We have a big covered dish dinner like family reunions and stuff do. But, you know, looking out over this, man, I mean, it's just been an amazing weekend so far here at Marvin's Mountaintop, I guess you could say. One of the cool things about it is, like we say, it's kind of a family fun atmosphere. Last night, after chapel services with Team Faith there, we had the 2nd annual GNCC Kennel Club Mowgli Memorial Dog Show. It was a whole lot of fun. We started about 7:30. It took about an hour and a half to go through, I don't know, probably 50 dogs or so, but we had a specially designed course laid out for them, and we had some really cool dogs there. That dog right there, the grand champion, he was a lion hunter. He was bred for hunting lions in Africa, believe it or not.
Wow. Hey, there's a pig. That's not a dog.
Veronica, you took first place today in WXC and UTVs, right?
Yes, I sure did. And it was like the roughest track ever, but that's West Virginia rocks.
It's very true. But now we're out here for the GNCC Dog Show. We have got, who is this?
This is Sky. He will be 12 years old next month, and he is a Australian Blue Heeler.
So is he Sky, is it?
Yeah.
Okay, is he in the like sport class and the senior class? What are we doing?
He's in the pro class because these dogs kind of have papers. They're really made up of 4 dogs total, but he looks kind of the thing for his breed, so.
All right, so you're going to go back-to-back wins today?
I'm hoping, man. I mean, he's really not into other dogs. He's kind of hanging out, so maybe we can get him to do some tricks. The husband went to go grab some chocolate chip cookies, and we get the chocolate chips out, and he loves them. So hopefully that'll be a shoe-in.
All right here down at the dog show, Veronica Weitzel and Sky looking to go back-to-back wins today.
Who don't enjoy chocolate chip cookies, really? I mean, think about it, right? There's Charlie Mullins, Hot Rod, and his boy.
He doesn't need chocolate chips. He's just going to eat that four-wheeler.
It was funny. Cooper last night, his mom was trying to shortcut the course, and he's like, no, we got to go this way. So he grabbed the little pickadees and drug that dog right around the course, man. Little Cooper, it's going to be fun to watch here in the coming years if he decides to lead, to race. And here's Carrie Jo and her well-trained dog, so obedient, is little Miss Sadie right here.
I think that's an automatic DQ right there.
Yeah, watering the race course. She thought it was getting a little dusty out there, is what she was thinking.
There we go.
So obedient, right? Oh, well, all the dogs, I think they look at it. They're like, you want me to cross that trash can? Ain't gonna happen. That's just what. That right there was actually Caleb Russell's dog, originally his dog. It went to his sister, and now his mom owns the dog. She's about 12 years old. Her name is Queen. She did a great job last night. And, of course, we'll be back with more GNCC racing action right after this.
Are you looking for a dirt bike piston that can increase power and decrease blow-by? Then check out Wiseco's all-new Racer Elite piston line. Racer Elite has been used exclusively by the pros, including RCH, Yoshimura, Suzuki Factory Racing, and are now accessible to the public. Available for popular 250 and 450cc dirt bikes, the Racer Elite series is the first off-the-shelf asymmetrical power sports piston ever made. Its fully machined billet aluminum construction features an exclusive custom lap top ring. Step up with dyno-proven power gains with Wiseco's Racer Elite piston line.
You smell it, you feel it, you can taste it in the air. Speed, man. Full wide open. Blast. I didn't really like high school too much. Too booky, too take notes, learn this, and that's it. Yeah, WildTech, that full-size motorcycle. The feeling of taking them apart every day, putting them back together. You can't explain it. Everything I learned applies to now. Seeing your motorcycle that you put together right around the track at 180 miles an hour, oh, definitely rewarding. My name's Mike. My school's WildTech.
Get on the fast track to a career. Turn pro at WildTech.
Whether you are looking for a 150 class or 600 class deer, X Factor Whitetails can suit your needs. We offer guided weapon of choice hunts for all groups of all sizes. From the time you arrive at our location, you'll get the 5-star service. We boast the capability of sleeping over 20 people comfortably.
And welcome back to GNCC Live here on RacerTV.com. Rodney Tomlin along with Johnny Gallagher. And, of course, Mikey Wayne's man on a mission out here this weekend to find out the crazy things going on. One of the most beautiful views, if you can see, out over the mountain ranges of magnificent West Virginia right here this weekend. And, of course, in the home territory of the Racer Productions office, about 20 minutes from where we sit right now, as a matter of fact, in Morgantown, just outside of Masontown. So, wow, it's nice to be in the home stomping grounds of GNCC, the birthplace basically of that, and in the shadows of our home offices, Johnny.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's a great facility, and as you mentioned, a homecoming of sorts with the dog show, with everything else that we had going on this weekend. Always exciting and always keeps everybody on the edge of their seat, Rodney. And like you said, just like we're talking about keeping folks on the edge of their seat, Ryan Sipes did not want to make this one too boring, so he went ahead and added a little bit of excitement. Unfortunately, we do not have a video of it for you, but we did get to see what happened when Ryan Sipes came in to get fuel in the VP Fuels Pro Row. He came in, they gave him a shot of fuel, and when they pulled the dump can out, something with the dump can mechanism failed, was spewing fuel everywhere. They were pushing it away from Ryan to keep the fuel from getting on him and his machine. So no harm, no foul there, but it fumbled up the pit stop for about an extra 5 seconds. You wouldn't think that's the end of the world. Well, then something went awry as he was trying to start that machine. It would not fire. We saw a 25-second video of Ryan Sipes in the pits. Now, bear in mind that a pit stop should be somewhere around 7 to 9 seconds. The fact that Ryan Sipes was in the pits for 25-plus seconds and the fact that that bike would not refire lends itself to believe that Ryan Sipes gave up a good bit of his lead. A 51-second lead, based on that, could be down to about 25.
So basically, he did get it fired back up. He is back on the track, but a lot of lost time. I mean, we were looking at 51 seconds, and like you say, if that was 25 seconds and they got that started a little late, that could be an even longer pit stop, so things could be even tighter than that.
Absolutely. You know, and another thing we're looking at there, last lap we did see, it looked like Caleb Russell and those boys came in and were getting fuel. So they got their pits out of the way last lap. Ryan Sipes pitting this lap, so that could have factored into that 15 seconds that Ryan Sipes was able to pull on the lap before. Now, with giving 25 seconds back, we could see a sub-20-second gap. And at that point, you know what that means? We always talk about it. If you can see him, you can catch him.
That's it.
So in these fields right now, I don't think there's a field big enough on this track where Caleb Russell can see Ryan Sipes. A 51-second lead is too much anywhere on this track to see the other rider, even in the biggest field. If he gets that down under 30, he's going to start catching glimpses of that, what we've been talking about, that bright Leatt riding gear of Ryan Sipes. May come back to haunt him if Caleb Russell catches a glimpse of that and says, ooh, there's my guy. Time to go hunting.
Well, that's his incentive. He's looking for that right now as we continue to watch and wait ourselves to see if that's going to happen. We're about 15 minutes out from lap 5 of 7 being complete. We are on 5. Lap 5 right now. We have a time of about 1 minute and approaching the 1 hour and 54-minute time frame there, so of this 3-hour race, and we will probably be really close to that 3-hour mark whenever that checker flag finally flies. And there's a lot of things that can happen over the course of the next hour and 7 minutes.
Well, one thing that we do see on screen is the number 264 of Ryan Sipes in a little bit of dust from the lapper. Still without that front number plate. He got some fuel, but they chose not to put a new front number plate on that, which I would anticipate. We'll wait and see just what that gap is. So Sipes out of the shot there at around...
Is this Russell coming up the hill now? I just saw someone moving in the dust, and it is Caleb Russell.
Folks, we're looking at, it was, oh, wow. We are looking at about a 13-second gap.
Wow, so the gap now cut from 51.5 seconds when they went into the pit stop to now 13 seconds.
Wow, big changes.
Listening to some updates right now on the track radio, Johnny. I'm sorry, I'm trying to pick up on what's going on.
Trevor Bollinger on screen. I don't mean to cut you off, Rodney, but we do not know if he's looking behind him, so I do not think Ricky Russell's been able to make the pass. Here we'll get a more precise gap this time. by that tree at 45 seconds on my watch. So 45 seconds, Ryan Sipes by that tree in the left-hander. We are at 55 now, so we're at 10 seconds. So it's going to be a little more than 13, but not a whole bunch more. We are at 0-1 past the tree, so that would be, my math skills are terrible, but 16 seconds would be the gap.
That's still pretty amazing. And Caleb, again, has been riding a steady, consistent race. He has not really wavered from what he set out to do early on, and that was ride a good, consistent race, running those lap times in that 26-minute range, everywhere from 26:20 to now to 26:51, once they've gotten into some of the lap traffic and stuff. So he's not wavering from his game plan any whatsoever. It's almost as if he isn't even concerned himself with the fact that Ryan Sipes had that big lead over him.
No, I think he's just been doing work, as you said, chipping away at it, and that little miscue in the pits for Sipes was all the fuel that he needed, no pun intended, or maybe intended, to close that gap up. Now we see Ricky Russell, the 212 NFAB Ampro Yamaha, in the 4th place machine. We did just see Trevor Bollinger come by, so he is still in that 3rd place spot. He has dropped that gap a little bit to Caleb Russell, but let me tell you something I just saw on live timing and scoring here, Rodney. If you take a look at that 5th place overall rider of the 206 machine of Josh Toth, he is only 26 seconds out of 3rd place overall. Even though he is showing there in 5th, 26 seconds is all the gap that it is, all the way for him to put himself on the podium. So Baylor now coming by physically in that 5th place overall spot, actually 6th, because Toth, we know, is a little bit closer than a minute to him. He's in between that gap. You kind of have to imagine where he would be imaginary-wise. He should be coming here in about 20 seconds.
Well, here's something interesting, some fodder for you to chew on right now. Josh Toth turning a 26:52 lap time last time around. Trevor Bollinger, 27:09. So we were looking at a pretty good gap there, about 15, 17 seconds or so between those two.
Toth a little bit late this time, but there we see the Yamaha pit board out from one of the NFAB Ampro Yamaha guys. There is the 206 machine of Josh Toth. They're probably giving him those updates. You know, he's probably not super concerned about that overall at this point because he doesn't have a huge lead. He's only got, looks to be 37 seconds. 37 seconds on that 2nd place machine of Craig DeLong, the number 9 Coastal Racing Husqvarna. So those are the top 2. 3rd place, we do still believe, is Lane Michael in that XC2 Pro Lights class.
But while Caleb Russell right now tries to secure his 5th consecutive title and tries to chase down Ryan Sipes for the #1 position on the day today and to take win number 46, we got Josh Toth back there doing business, and looks like he is setting his sails for that overall championship win in the XC2 class. And then, of course, back in the XC3, the class that we've been kind of keeping an eye on today, Jason Thomas is looking to secure his 3rd title in his career and his first FMF XC3 125 Pro-Am title in what likely is his last professional GNCC race of his career. At last check, last time around, they are due in 22 minutes, or he is anyway. He had a 2-minute and 6-second lead over Paul Whibley. Paul Whibley was just 8 seconds ahead of Jack Edmondson. Chris Vendetti was another 24 seconds back. And, hey, I got to tip my hat to Chris Vendetti, man. Getting into that realm and that close to Paul Whibley and Jack Edmondson right now, that's pretty good. That's something that we haven't seen so far this season. Normally, we're seeing 5-minute gaps between 3rd and 4th place positions when those 3 are up front. And it sounds like we got Mikey Waynes out and about. Give us an update, Mikey.
Yeah, hey, Rodney, get an update for you here in the Coastal Racing crew. Was able to talk about Ryan Sipes and a little mishap in the pits. Nothing too major. He spilled some fuel, had a little trouble getting it started, but able to get it back up and going. And from the sounds of things, it obviously closed the gap a little bit, but he's starting to spread that gap a little bit back now, gaining some more of that time back.
Interesting. We'll be keeping an eye on that. Thank you, Mikey Waynes, for that. As we were talking about the FMF XC3, Thomas, Whibley, Edmondson, Vendetti, again, only 24 seconds back. So seeing Vendetti rise to this level is pretty impressive. Hunter Neworth, another rider that I think we should probably be keeping an eye on, 747 and 5th. Then there's Taylor Jones, the WXC class champion. She stepped up to the FMF XC3 class today. She likes the 125. She wanted to race against the boys, and we had a chance to catch up with her rolling into this day today.
Yeah, we're out here at the Mountaineer, and I I wrapped up the WXC a couple weekends ago, so I decided I'd try out the 125 FMF XC3 class and give the boys a run for their money. No women's raced a pro class before in the afternoon, so it's cool to be the first one to do it, and hopefully in the coming years more girls will be able to step up and give it a try and see if we can hang it with the boys. Success really is just having a lot of fun and staying on the bike. I don't want to do anything silly, like it's very dusty and rocky out here, but if I go out there and have fun and do the best I can, it's going to be a success.
All righty, and I think with Taylor being the first XC3 rider, I'm not sure, but we may have had one of our former WXC, Casey Martinez and Maria Forsberg, I think, actually might have dabbled around a little bit as well in some of that. So
yeah, they each ran the 4-stroke A class.
Okay, they raced the boys, but not in the pro class.
Yep,
That's right.
They raced the 4-stroke A class. They wouldn't have had the opportunity with the XC3 class being a first-year class this year.
And that class kind of takes that position, even though it's not a 4-stroke class. It kind of takes its position on the starting line. You know?
Yep, and that XC3 Pro-Am class, kind of bridges the gap between our pro classes and in the amateur classes. So it's a great spot, and cool to see her out there giving it a shot. Said she likes the 125, gave it a go, and out there running in that 6th place spot, I believe, currently.
Yep.
It's a big change, I think, for a lot of riders, male or female, to go from that 2-hour morning race to that 3-hour afternoon.
Yeah, it's a big switch.
The mentality of it, so many riders out there in that morning race. It's a completely different makeup to the race. It's more trying to dodge. Oh, look at this. Ryan Sipes' handguard bent way up. Don't know if that's from the same incident as the number plate missing, but he looks like he has a sense of urgency. Somebody has given him a pit board that said, hey, the number 1 of Caleb Russell is not that far behind you. You may want to go ahead and speed it up a little bit.
Nope,
look at this. I see a pit board. Caleb Russell coming in.
23 seconds now, I think, is what the gap is between. We're hearing the track crew talk about that right now, Johnny. I think they got a clock on it, 23-second difference. So Caleb's starting to lose a little bit more time. We saw it as close as 13 seconds at one time. So, again, Caleb's staying true to his game plan. He's not trying to pick up the pace any whatsoever. He's just riding a true, steady pace today. I mean, if you look back at his lap times, that's very reflective of that.
Yeah, absolutely. He's riding his race, and the one thing we do know about Caleb is he tends to keep speed in reserve for late in these races. Ryan Sipes, known to be a sprinter, known to get out front. He has won a GNCC before, but Caleb Russell having won 45, I believe, at this point. He knows the formula, and he seems to let these races come to him. But Ryan Sipes is surely not going to make it easy on him. He's riding incredibly well. His pace is there. Would not have picked him to excel in these conditions, although he's done it before. Oh. And look at this guy, Ricky Russell, out of the Washington native, says, what rocks? Rodney, did it not look like he was riding a smooth trail through there?
I think so, man. He looks like one of the smoother riders in these rocks as we've seen come by. Now, has he gotten around Trevor Bollinger for that number 3 spot?
He has made the pass for the number 3 spot, and he has dropped Trevor Bollinger.
Wow, that's pretty impressive right there. Even with Bollinger being a rookie, man, that kid has just been a bulldozer.
A new 4th place rider. Stu Baylor into 4th. He has also gotten around Trevor Bollinger, so we're going to have to assume, I don't think this is a case of these guys coming forward. Trevor Bollinger has backed it up. Something has happened. He is going backwards in a hurry.
I don't know, man. I know Stu Baylor always seems to come on late in the race like this, and he's doing it again. Let's see, lap time last time around, he had a 26:53. He was right there in the realm of where Caleb Russell was with a 26:51. So a lot of these guys are in the 26:50s. You got Toth in a 26:52, 26:46. Ricky Russell, one of the faster ones, aside from Ryan Sipes, who had a 26:35 that time around.
And there is your XC2 Pro Lights leader, Josh Toth, the number 206 machine. Again, those reverse numbers with the green numbers, white background, signify him as the points leader. And also, what that signifies is today he has a chance to earn his first ever GNCC championship with that XC2 Pro Lights class. He has been dominant, super dominant early in the season, winning, I believe it was 5 races in a row, if I'm not mistaken. 5, maybe even 6. He was on a tear there for a while, and he's been consistent in the races that he hasn't won, keeping himself on the podium or in that top 4 or 5, and he has really just dominated that XC2 Pro Lights class this year. A former XC2 Pro Lights class champion, Grant Baylor, the number 314 machine there in that XC1 Pro Lights class. We believe he is in that 6th place position still. He was chasing his brother, Stu Baylor, and now he is chasing another friend of his, Trevor Bollinger, who has dropped back to that 5th place spot, running as high as 3rd throughout much of the early part of, or throughout this entire race, 2 hours in.
Well, as we look at the top amateur, still 17th place overall position. Alex Teagarden holding on to that particular bragging right at this time. Just a quick check-in on that. We're at 2 hours and 5 minutes now into this race and working our way toward that 3-hour mark itself, and only about 3 minutes or so, Johnny, before our leaders are due in for lap number 5.
And in that 3 minutes, we're going to find out just what that gap is from our leader, Ryan Sipes, to our 2nd place rider, Caleb Russell, and a man on the mission, Ricky Russell, with the fastest lap the last time around. There we see our 2nd place rider in the XC2 Pro Lights class, Craig DeLong, the number 9 Coastal Racing Husqvarna. You know, these guys, and actually, as we talk about those Coastal guys, Sipes leading that XC1 class and the overall. Now with DeLong in the 2nd place spot in that XC2 Pro Lights class, their fearless leader and 8-time GNCC champion, Barry Hawk, actually was out there and raced the morning race this morning. And he wasn't doing it to gain intel. Maybe he was. But he was actually out there and looking good for much of the race. I did hear reports. I don't know if you had a chance to talk to him, Mikey, but I heard some secondhand reports that possibly he had connected with one of these trees here on Marvin's Mountaintop. Although I believe he was okay, he decided, you know, I got some duties to do this afternoon. I got some guys that got some serious things on the line. So I'm going to go ahead and put this Husqvarna on the stand and get back to my duties of team manager.
Yeah, I think he's probably pretty satisfied with how it went today, because I understand he raced this race last year as well and had some troubles on the start and really didn't even get to race it, to be honest. So I'm sure he was pretty happy. And he was in the top 5 with the adjusted time out of the sportsman class for much of the first half of that race. So tough break for him, but I'm sure he had a good time. And you're right, he knew he had to pull some double duty today.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's got to be tough knowing you have to work later in the day and out there giving it his all. But I think he still has fun getting on a dirt bike. It's got to be a bit of a change for him. Obviously, all those years of racing and winning, just to kind of go out and do it for fun. But he did look like he was having a good time. I tell you what, folks, if you are watching us here on RacerTV Live and you want to get your own view of exactly what happened with the Ryan Sipes Coastal Racing Husqvarna pit, where he did lose quite a bit of time, it is posted on the GNCC Racing Instagram. It says Ryan Sipes had some unfortunate circumstances during his pit, still currently holds the overall lead, but Caleb Russell is now closing in. So go there, follow that GNCC Racing on Instagram, and you're going to see just exactly what happened. A lot of time in the pits, folks. I'm watching this video again now, and you can see it looks like his mom there. It looks like his dad possibly as well. I do see Tyler King there. Looks like Rick Michael. These guys are all there, all going, we need to get you going, Ryan. So it's a long video, shows exactly what happened, and you can kind of get an insight into the frustration that when things go awry, especially leading one of these things. A lot on the line, but he's making it work right now. Still holding the lead. Kind of a seesaw battle back and forth between him and Caleb Russell. We've seen that gap as small as 16 seconds. We've seen it now possibly back up to 23 seconds as we were last told. And as we watch on screen here, pretty soon within the next couple of minutes, we're going to see exactly what that gap is in real time. Oh, and there is, I'll tell you what, I think we did see Ryan Sipes in the dust. Camera didn't pick him up, but I thought it was him. I saw that bright riding gear. So there is the #1 FMF KTM of Caleb Russell. He is charging. He's not taking a look over, so he must have gotten some pit boards. Maybe he knows where Ryan Sipes is. We seem to have missed him in the dust, but he should be checking in if he has not already. It looks like Mikey's getting the finger work going and getting the screen refreshed to find out exactly where is Ryan Sipes. I think that may be him going into the woods down there. We'll watch off in the distance and see. The 2 lap card will be coming out, Mikey. We're watching off in the distance. If we see some white and high-vis riding gear, that is Ryan Sipes, and there it is off in the distance. We do see him. These are some lapped riders here. The battle's going on off to the left there, and there he is, folks, out of the woods. And I tell you what, this is going to be less than 20 seconds. I'm going to call it right now. I'm a gambling man. Want to bet $1 on this?
I'm in. I'll take that. I'll take the under.
You take the under? Wait, no, I'm taking the under.
All right, all right, that's fair.
You got. Oh no, Caleb Russell goes down.
Oh man,
$1. That's it, Caleb. Pretty upset with this. Definitely gonna be over 20 seconds now, I would think. It would have been a little closer, but he.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, we bet each other. Brad from NBC Sports was not in on that bet.
Oh, man. I was curious how our $1
well,
bet
here's your gap.
$1,000.
Ryan Sipes, lap time 27 minutes, 2 seconds. He is now gapped between him and Caleb Russell, 20 .563 seconds. So we'll call it 20.5 seconds.
And here's
so
your
just
dollar.
over.
It's not on screen, but if they cut to the booth right now, you'll see me handing.
There we go. Got it. Crisp. George Washington.
Nice fresh $1 bill. Man, and he had it too. That should have been my dollar. We're going double or nothing on something later.
That's fair. That's
you
fair.
can see he plainly dumped it in that corner. He must have known that I was putting some money on him. Big money bets going on here, and big money right here. We're going to start calling Josh Toth big money if he keeps performing like this. Money under pressure is what Josh Toth has been today. They said, hey, Josh, you got this thing on the line today. It's called an XC2 championship. You never won one of these things, but no pressure. And he said, well, you know what? Easiest way to win this thing is just to go out and win the race. That is what he has been doing. I tell you what, we need to take a look and see. He may be getting even closer than we know to that podium position overall. Although I would imagine that those guys on the pit board are probably going to tell him, dude, back her down. You got a championship to win today. We'll wait and we'll watch, and we will try to get an update on that time. We see now there is Grant Baylor, so that is our 6th place rider in XC1. So Bollinger, Stu Baylor, and Ricky Russell all came by, along with Josh Toth, the leader of the XC2 class. And here is the 314 of Grant Baylor, again winning around earlier this year. And there is Bollinger now, our 5th place rider through. And is that, yes, Toth is now to the rear wheel.
And 3rd overall.
Oh, so man, I might have lost that dollar bet, but I called it. I knew he was coming. He was only 26 seconds out of that 3rd place spot. How much does he have it by there, Rodney?
Right now, lapse time, we have 2 hours, 10 minutes, 15 seconds for Josh Toth in 3rd place. Ricky Russell, 2 hours, 10 minutes, 21 seconds. To Caleb Russell, it's 2 hours, 9 minutes, and 32 seconds. So it's about 43 seconds he's behind Caleb Russell right now on adjusted time. He's turning about a 6-second faster lap, but again, only just a handful of seconds. 6 seconds is what we're looking at that he's leading Ricky Russell for that final podium spot right now.
I'll tell you what, I'm going to go ahead and throw the ultimate monkey wrench into this. With 50 minutes or thereabouts of racing left in this thing, 48 minutes left of racing, what if we see Josh Toth become the spoiler that stops Caleb Russell from winning this championship today by winning his own championship?
That would be...
Because it could happen.
Yeah.
Overall points do not care what class you're in. And if Josh Toth were able to, if he's only 20-some-odd seconds behind Caleb, you said?
Right.
So how far is he behind Ryan Sipes?
Yeah, let's see. We'll do the math here. It is 20.5 seconds. We'll call it 20 seconds just for adding purposes. So 20 seconds, and then add that 43 seconds. So he's a little over a minute, about 63 seconds behind your leader on adjusted time right now.
Okay, I'm sorry. I thought you said he was only 20 seconds behind Caleb Russell.
Melissa just said that Toth is 3rd overall on adjusted time.
I must have misheard you.
Maybe, well, let's see. Okay. Well, you're looking at, elapsed time. 2 hours, 9 minutes, 11 seconds.
To 2:10:15. So it's a minute and 4 seconds.
Minute and 4 seconds, yeah.
So it's not as close as I thought it was. I had thought you said he was only 24 seconds behind Caleb Russell, and Caleb Russell was only
23 seconds.
43. Okay,
43.
I heard you wrong. My bad. Ears don't work. Getting old, almost 40.
I may have not said it right either.
No, it's probably me. We're going to blame it on me. Today's my day of screwing things up, so let's just stick with it.
But still, the big picture is we're still within a pretty good realm there, and things are still like in the realm of possibility.
Anything could happen.
Yes,
absolutely.
exactly.
There we see our 2nd place rider in XC2, Craig DeLong, that number 9 machine. As he jumps his way into the woods, he says, "Rocks be darned, get out of my way. I am trying to win this thing." He's got a gap. Rocks be darned. He's got a gap to make up if he wants to catch that number 2:06 of Josh Toth, who's on a mission today. What's that gap, Rod?
2 minutes, 15 seconds back to 2nd place in that XC2 Pro class.
And just think, it was 37 seconds a lap ago.
What is it about? I mean, Josh Toth, man. I mean, this kid is just phenomenal. I know he comes out of the Northeast. I know we talked about the terrain. You know, the rocks are a little different, but he says, you know, rough technical conditions is what he likes to ride. Do you think that might be his spur today, or what is it? He's just got the talent, I guess.
He's got the talent, but I tell you what, you know, there's years ago, you used to try and sit and figure out what is it, and then you keep saying it. there's just this it quality that certain people have for a short period of time. It never seems to last very long, where they have this spark. Josh Toth right now has it. Whatever it is, he has it. Because if you look at the way he rides, he's just having fun on a dirt bike. He's not mechanical about it. He's not planned. He's not at all diabolical about it. He's just out there twisting the throttle on his dirt bike, and when he does it right, he is lethal.
He most certainly is. We are working on lap number 6 of 7 right now. 2 hours and 15 minutes into this race. Ryan Sipes continuing to lead. Caleb Russell, Josh Toth, as we had pointed out, in that 3rd place position overall. Ricky Russell is 4th. Stu Baylor in the number 5 spot. Trevor Bollinger is 6th overall. Grant Baylor 7th. Craig DeLong in 8th. Lane Michael is 9th. And Michael Witkowski rounds out your top 10. Our 250A class leader is 17th place overall. Alex Teagarden is looking at the possibility and the likelihood of another amateur overall. And I'll tell you, folks, we have got the stage set for some pretty interesting things. Can Caleb Russell bound back, take the win today, and write that page of history? Will Josh Toth change it all? Stick around. GNCC Live continues after this.
Introducing SoundArt, the world's first truly customizable, concealed, flat panel art speaker system. SoundArt is elegantly hidden behind a high-grade, textured canvas wrap, bringing together the best of sound and art. This innovative design allows for a truly invisible, high-fidelity sound experience without bulky speakers. SoundArt by Ansia. Your art never sounded so good.
Razor, Ranger, Sportsman, Ace. If you live for the outdoors, there's a Polaris to match your passion. Confident, comfortable, capable. That's Ace. With a solo cockpit, automotive controls, independent suspension, all-wheel drive, and up to 45 horses of fuel-injected power. Calling it revolutionary would be an understatement. Polaris, the world leader in off-road innovation.
Even when you're the best, you never stop striving to be better. The all-new from the ground up 2018 Yamaha YZ450F is arriving soon at LoJack Cycle Sales. With over 40 years of experience in motorcycle sales and service and 15 national championships, we know racing. Stop by LoJack Cycle Sales today in Tarentum, Pennsylvania, and view our online inventory at lojacks.com. Yamaha YZs. It's why we ride.
And welcome back to GNCC Live from the Rocky Mountain ATVMC Mountaineer Run GNCC in the shadows of Morgantown, West Virginia's home offices of Racer Productions. This is the unofficial GNCC homecoming. I'm Rodney Tom along with Johnny Gallagher and Mikey Waynes as we are now into the 3rd and final hour of competition here in our motorcycle race. And Johnny Gallagher, a lot of big things on the horizon here today. We came in with a whole lot of hype, and that hype is certainly made for an interesting race, and the hype that we talked about may not come to pass, but other and interesting things may.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and I mean the hype is not dead yet. You know, like with Michael Eschy back in the day. Believe the hype. Just keep believing in it. You just never know. Jason Thomas still on his way to looking like he's going to wrap up that XC3 title. Josh Toth on his way to looking like he's going to wrap up that XC2 title. And Caleb Russell about 20.5 seconds away from potentially locking up that XC1 title. So many things flying around, including my dollar out of my pocket that Mikey Waynes took from me like a kid takes some other kid's lunch money, like a bully in elementary school.
What was that? I missed
As they were coming, we were talking about what the gap was going to be. We know the lap before, it had been 51 seconds. Ryan Sipes had those issues in the pits, and I looked at it and I said, you know what? This is less than 20 seconds. He's closed this gap down. He's on a mission. He's coming for him. I said, it's going to be less than 20 seconds. I'll bet you $1. He took it. He tried to take the under. He said, I'll take the under.
Yeah.
And I said, I got the under. He said, okay, no problem. I'll take the over. It's only $1, right? Caleb's probably maybe 12 seconds behind him. He dumps it in the second to last corner before the finish. Takes forever to pick up his bike. His lollygag in time. I saw him look at his watch, and he was like, Johnny doesn't need that $1.
Did you look at the official time by chance?
20.5 seconds. Yes, I'm well aware how much. 1/2 of 1 second cost me $1 whole.
Well, it's a good thing you didn't bet a lot more.
And somebody started screaming on the radio that I almost lost $1,000. And I don't know how that came about, but if I'm going to have to make payments. Can I pay you $1 at each race for the next 999 races? Great.
That's awesome. So now 2 hours and 19 minutes into this race, and we still don't know how it's going to finish here. Ryan Sipes has just basically been a man on a mission all day long today. He's had his troubles, man. We see the number plate ripped off. We see the handguard is bent up. We saw the miscue there in the pits with the gas splashing and the bike not firing up, man. I tell you what, it would be hard to deny Ryan Sipes this win today, as hard as he has fought, as hard as he has rode, and as long as he has led this one.
Absolutely, you know, and if he can hold this one to the finish, it is going to be that much sweeter, because on a day where everything falls into place, you know, sometimes you can kind of take things for granted, although winning an event this high profile, you know, especially for a guy like Sipes who's lived his whole life chasing dreams, you know, chasing wins, chasing speed, chasing progress, you know, to do what he's done the last few years in GNCC racing, coming from an MX background, you know, doing these kind of just started off, as we talked about, it's kind of been a lost story because he's been around a few years now, but came out with his brother just to do one of these for fun, the first one he ever came to in Kentucky, ran an amateur class, you know, just tried it out. And he liked it enough that he decided he was going to give it his all and come race GNCCs, gave up a lucrative career in motocross to come do this, and now here he is leading the way, and here he is on screen, folks. The 264 of Ryan Sipes, hard on the gas, and on his way.
Reports are that Russell has now whittled that gap back down to just 12 seconds, and there he is, and we can see that it is tightening up. Looks like Caleb Russell may be starting to pick up the pace and ride a little more aggressively now, guys.
Yeah, he sees what's on the line. He knows as they come through this lap, they will be getting that white flag. And with that white flag, that means that they have exactly one lap of racing left to determine, can Ryan Sipes hang on to win this thing, or can Caleb Russell notch win number 46 and also put the nails in the coffin of championship number 5?
All right, here's the scenario. Rolling into the last lap, Ryan Sipes has led this thing. He exerted a lot of energy on a hot, dusty, very action-packed racetrack, one that has kept you busy the entire way. You know, it all becomes a matter of, at this point, who wants it the most, and literally right down to the training aspect of this, man. I mean, how is the training for that last hour? This last half hour, I think, is probably the most critical on a day like today. How strong, how much is that training going to pay off for you today, and who has worked the hardest, I guess?
Yeah, that's a question that we're going to find out here, and I'm not even going to touch that one.
No, I know,
because both of these guys have worked incredibly hard to be in the position there, and I don't blame you for trying to put me on the spot, but Mikey, who do you think trained harder? I'm going to pass it. Let's bet $1 over who trained harder.
That is a rhetorical statement.
No, I know. I was just kidding.
I'm just basically putting it out there. I mean, honestly, when you look at that, man, I mean, you got to think, you know, Ryan hasn't been in this position as often in this late in the race, so you have to almost, under racing circumstances, give the advantage to Caleb Russell at this particular point, just from the racing circumstances that we've been faced with over the year. But we know the heart, we know the desire, we know the determination of Ryan Sipes. We saw him win the ISDE overall, and we've seen him you know, win GNCC races, and we know that he's got the heart for it. We know that he's still having fun, and we know that's why he's out here right now.
And here's another rider that could potentially throw a monkey wrench into all of it. The 206, our third place overall rider, Josh Toth, the XC2 Pro Lights leader. We know he was about a minute out of that overall lead, so we don't think he's been able to make up that much time, as we'll wait and we'll see. He has now made his way around the number 5 of Trevor Bollinger, who is the 5th place rider in that XC1 Pro class. The 3rd place rider is still Ricky Russell, 4th place is still Stu Baylor, and 5th place Trevor Bollinger. So that does differ just a shade from what you see on your screen there, because we've got, again, Josh Toth up into, well, they're showing him in 5th place overall, but we're told he's actually 3rd.
According to my timing and scoring, he's 3rd, yeah.
That is lap 5, so that is not updated properly, but nonetheless, we do know Josh Toth is in 3rd place overall and will be on screen here in just a moment. Ricky Russell has made his way through. Stu Baylor has made his way through, so the next rider we will see will be the 206 of Josh Toth, our 3rd place overall rider. And also, on his way potentially too, wrapping up that XC2 Pro Lights class, and there he is.
Wow, taking a look. I'm just watching the course conditions, talking about that silty, powdery sand that you were mentioning there earlier. And this track today has really progressed into that a lot more. That was a lot more hard-packed earlier, I think, and it's gotten a lot fluffier over the course of these 3 hours of racing.
Yeah, it's I get kind of a unique way to watch these tracks evolve over the course of the weekend. Obviously, pedaling them first thing on Saturday morning, right before the youth race. You get to see it in its prime, pristine, unmolested state, and then I get to race it after the youth race, and in the case of this weekend, the single seat side-by-side, and then also the 10 a.m. morning ATV race. By the time I race it, I'm always thinking to myself, man, this place is destroyed. You know, absolutely, you know, junked. There's holes everywhere. It's just ripping the bars out of your hands. Why would you ever want to ride a motorcycle or an ATV in these conditions? And then I get to go out again the next morning after another 1-hour youth race and watch the WXC riders as they come through. You see that track deteriorate even further, and then on TV, I get to watch it again and see it really. So I'll tell you what, this is the best view because we're in a nice, somewhat climate-controlled booth.
Yeah.
And we don't have a set of handlebars and an angry 50-horsepower dirt bike or ATV in our hands that we're trying to pilot through the woods at 50 mile an hour. Track's beat is what I'm getting at. But it'll be all healed up next year, and we'll do it all over.
Oh,
It
yeah.
amazes me what Mother Nature does to these things. Of course, we got a great reclamation crew too, that comes in and works these tracks over as we roll out here. And again, that shot right there, probably one of my most favorite shots, is that long, captivating view of the mountain ranges that surround Masontown, West Virginia.
I'm pretty sure I can see my house over there.
That's clear up in Ohio,
yeah,
right?
does that look like Aurora, Ohio to you?
That's looking pretty close to it,
Sugar
right
Falls.
there. Right direction.
Pretty close, yeah. That would be the direction.
So right now, the direction we're heading in is the finish line for our pros, and we're about 10 minutes out, Mikey. I know getting to talk firsthand to these guys, you're going to get a lot of raw emotion out of these guys coming up here in just a few moments. This is going to be an exciting finish to this one. We, again, within that 12-15 second range, according to timing and scoring, 20.5 seconds. We've seen it down to 13 seconds at one point, according to updates from out off the racetrack. And speaking of updates, I'm going to turn my radio up in my ear just a little bit here to try to listen for a few more of those. There's Craig DeLong checking in with us now, another rider. He's second place in that XC2 250 Pro class. He's had a pretty good race today as well. Just hasn't been as much in the limelight, it doesn't appear.
Yeah, he was shadowing Josh Toth for much of the race, and even as recently as last lap, he was only 37 seconds behind Toth, and then Toth put in that heater. Looks like Craig may have lost the pace a little bit, and as a result, that 37-second gap turned into a 2-minute and change gap. I don't remember exactly what you said it was, but it looks like it was 2 minutes and 12 seconds. So 37 to 2:12. Just like that. And that's what happens when you have a guy like Toth who's on the mission. And, we don't know if Craig may have experienced some mishaps, but still an excellent ride, second place in that XC2 Pro Lights class. And I believe that would put him in the 8th place overall position. Mikey Waynes is waving that dollar at me. No, I'm not taking it back. We're going double or nothing on something. Next race, you keep it for now, or we'll keep that dollar floating around. We'll get Rodney in on it too. I want 2 times my money back. Nice. There is the 523 of Lane Michael, the Coastal Racing Husqvarna. He is hard on the gas in pursuit of Craig DeLong, but that gap has opened up. How far is he behind DeLong there?
Well, if you look at that, that's another 2 minutes, 0.29 seconds. So 2 minutes basically behind Craig DeLong in that 3rd place position. He's still running in the 9th place overall. Speaking of 9s, we are at less than 9 minutes now from what we expect to be the checker flag, and Ryan Sipes leading that all the way through to that. And again, it's just a matter of a waiting game at this particular point. Caleb Russell looking more aggressive than he's looked the entire day of racing, Johnny. The last couple of shots we saw him on camera here in these closing laps.
Wait, this will be the checkered flag or the white?
Oh, this will be the white flag.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
You had me all confused.
I'm sorry. I'm getting a little bit
I thought we had the 2-lap card out and we were going to get the white, but maybe
we're going for the white flag. I'm sorry. I'm just getting excited on this. So we'll be 8 minutes and a lap away from telling how this is going to fare. And this final lap, as we mentioned there just a few moments.
Here's Ryan Sipes on screen. He's getting a little whiskey. He senses the urgency and is not willing to let this one get away.
Why does he sense the urgency? Let's see if there's a good reason why. That is exactly why. Caleb Russell Man, side saddling that thing into that FMF rock guard there, but he's got a couple of lappers just ahead of him, and only 14 seconds behind. Look how Caleb was just letting that bike ride itself underneath him, man. It's dancing, kind of like what Becca said. Stay upright and let the bike dance underneath you. That's what Caleb Russell was doing through that section.
I'll tell you what, I wish we had a microphone on that camera, because I can assure you, not only was there some screaming, but that was straight rev limiter. That lapper was in his line. He wanted around, and that's why he was side saddle. I assure you that clutch was part ways pulled in, and he had that little KTM 250F pegged, rev limiter screaming, get out of my way, and that number 521 was just in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Wow, 7 minutes now till white flag, and Ryan Sipes continuing to lead now about 14 seconds. So we are only a couple of miles away from the white flag here. So, man, a lot of things can happen in a 2-mile period. What's these last couple miles like, Johnny, for these riders heading to the finish line? There's Ricky Russell.
The last couple miles, you know, as they traverse this way out of this FMF PowerPoint, they've got some rocky trail that has a pretty decent flow to it. Nothing like we see on screen in terms of rock. But look at this. Stu Baylor now has worked his way up, nearly catching up to Ricky Russell. Rodney Tomlin, again, called it correctly, said Baylor hard on the gas at the end of this one. Unfortunately, what Stu may or may not know is that pass, if he makes it, may not be good enough for that third-place overall spot, because Josh Toth has those guys covered right now on the corrected time aspect of things. But from here, what they've got is they've got, like we said, some twisting trails, some more rock gardens. They work their way back over to a big section of field that we see them coming out to the finish. But in between there's 3 more rock gardens that are pretty gnarly. So there is plenty of challenges, lots of dust, lots of silt, and as the track progresses, the roots are starting to come out. So now they've got to not only deal with the rolling rocks, but they've got the roots as well. Look at this. This guy, one thing that everybody's got to deal with right now is the 206 of Josh Toth, hard on the gas, a little off this time through, but still carrying his speed well and doing everything that he can possibly do to get up there to battle for an overall podium position.
Well, I tell you, temperatures really warming up out here on Marvin's Mountaintop today. It's as much this last lap coming up is going to be who can handle the heat, who's got the best training, and right now, who's going to be able to ride the hardest. We're seeing riders like Caleb Russell step it up. You see that Stu Baylor stepping it up here in the closing moments. Josh Toth has stepped it up quite a bit. This is going to be pretty exciting, these final 28 minutes or so, 27 minutes of racing that are about to unfold once that white flag unfurls here in about 5 minutes. We're about 5 minutes out from a white flag right now.
5 minutes left to determine exactly what the gap is that Ryan Sipes is going to want to try and hold or extend, and Caleb Russell is going to want to try and shrink to determine, can he wrap up championship number 5? Can Ryan Sipes get win number 2? Can we see 3 championships wrapped up today? Will it be 2? Will it be 1? Will it be none? Again, that XC3 championship appears to be a foregone conclusion. Jason Thomas already running the number 1. He does still need to get that done, but he's on his way to doing so today. The second championship on the line, the XC2 championship, Josh Toth leading the way, doing what he needs to do to wrap that up. And then Caleb Russell trying to hunt down Ryan Sipes to wrap up the XC1 championship.
Well, right now, if you're wondering, Jason Thomas has about a 3-minute, 14-second lead now over second place and 18th overall, the 118 of Jack Edmondson. Then about 30 seconds further back than that is the 99 of Paul Whibley. He rounds out the top 20 overall right now as we take a look at this with our 5 laps complete, working on lap number 6 right now.
Paul Whibley coming back over, joining us again for the rest of the season. He took a break there mid-season. The class was pretty tough there at the beginning of the year. Jack Edmondson doing all of the winning, and Jason Thomas doing everything he could to try and close that gap. Was, you know, thought he had it a few times. Was even offering Jack Edmondson a beer on the podium. He said, "Hey, Jack, have you ever had American beer? It's real good. We'd like to have you try it just to slow you down." But oh, we've got, there is Hollywood, our spotter. He's calling in the radio updates and letting us know what's going on. You see, he's talking with the Coastal guys, trying to get the info out of him. Hey, what's the plan here? Let me radio it back to my GNCC live crew here.
And, you know, I also want to point out that Hollywood, not only a great spotter for us here and, you know, does it on occasion, but Hollywood is also very instrumental in the career of Caleb Russell through his youth ranks all the way up into actually XC2 Pro Lights class racing. So, you know, that man right there is a bigger icon in this sport and behind the scenes than what a lot of people realize. And he just comes out and does it for fun, man. Not a real racer himself, but, man, talk about racing in his blood. It is thick, there's no doubt.
Yeah, and over at the ISDE, he wears on the final day when it's time to celebrate, or even during the parade, he has a full-blown American suit.
Yes.
It is not an actual American flag, but it mimics an American flag. It is a suit, a top hat, the whole 9 yards.
Kind of the Uncle Sam, huh?
He is the Uncle Sam. He is Mr. America.
Well, I'll tell you, I do want to commend Hollywood. He's very instrumental in Caleb Russell's career. He helped out in a lot of places when Dad wasn't available to be mechanic and things like that. So, a good family friend as well as a great off-road enthusiast. So, my hat's off to that man right there. David Kripe's his real name. Hollywood, we call him here.
Yeah, we just call him Hollywood. But yeah, David Kripe is his actual name. Check him out on Facebook. Follow him. Instagram. Give him a follow. But
you might not want to do that.
Just kidding. He doesn't hide who he is. But this is mile 9.5 we're looking at here on screen, and we should be seeing, I'd love to tell you it's the number 264 Ryan Sipes, but we're only going to know that because he doesn't have a front number plate. So what you're going to be looking for is that man right there, Ryan Sipes. That is him. The camera's going to follow him, and they need to move a little quicker, but that was him. They can't
That's how fast he's going.
So hard, and there he is. He's running, trying to hide.
He's looking
over his shoulder. He says, "Where is?"
Did you see that little extra plume of dust that pops up out there as well? Look at, he's riding in the thicker dust right now. So I know he's trying to get around lap traffic, but I think he's trying to kick up a little bit extra dust at the same time.
Absolutely. He's exploding those berms using every ounce of that 350 horsepower, saying, I don't even know if it's about so much going fast. I want to make it hard for Caleb to see. That is exactly what he's doing.
Absolutely. Track the foot a little bit, kick up a little extra.
Caleb's not even going to have to worry about it. He looks like he might have dropped back a little bit. He's not pushing nearly as hard as we saw him pushing there a few moments ago.
And the sense of urgency you would think for Caleb must be there, not in that, obviously, he wants to win, he likes to win, but with the championship on the line, you know he's doing everything he can possibly do to try and close that gap up, to get close, to put it away today, because nobody wants that championship, well, if you're Caleb Russell anyways, he doesn't want that championship to go on any longer than he feels it needs to. With the opportunity to do it today, he's going to want to do it today. So I can assure you, it's not just him sitting back there letting Ryan Sipes have his day. He's throwing everything he's got at him, and so far, Ryan Sipes has been able to match his every effort with a counter effort.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see what this final lap of racing is going to bring us for about a minute. Actually, we are now at the white flag as Ryan Sipes has checked in with 1 lap to go now. How far behind is Caleb Russell? The official results tell us he goes from a 20-second gap now to the updated time as we roll into the final lap. Waiting, sitting on it. This seems it's like watching a pot trying to boil there. 26 seconds, so he lost a little bit of time.
Wow.
The lap time, 26:41 for Ryan Sipes, 26:47 for Caleb Russell. But again, he looked a little bit more aggressive. That lap time a lot more closer to pace to Ryan Sipes that time around consistently. Than what we've seen so far out of Caleb Russell. So that, to me, shows me that he's picked up the pace a little bit. He looks a little more aggressive out there. What does this final lap of racing bring? We don't know. Will it be the historic day that we were talking about? Will Caleb get win number 46? Will he actually clinch his 5th consecutive GNCC title? We are still about 25 minutes away from knowing the answer to that question.
25 minutes to wait and watch and speculate and guess and throw theories around and bet dollars.
There you go. Yeah. Hey, by the way, I do want to say congratulations.
Stu
Baylor closed that gap even closer to
Ricky Russell, 55 seconds behind Caleb Russell. Stu Baylor, 7.3 seconds behind Ricky Russell, a 26:37. Stu Baylor just turned the fastest lap. It was a 26:41 for Ryan Sipes, 26:47 for Caleb Russell, 26:53 for Ricky Russell, 26:37. So it was only by 4 seconds, but still, Stu Baylor turning the fastest lap.
And as we're watching on the screen here, folks, that is not a minute. Josh Toth is coming through, and he has Stu Baylor and Ricky Russell covered on corrected time. Fork guard flopping out. He has hit something, doesn't care. He is pushing his way, trying to get that overall podium.
And here we are, man. We were talking about it. We've been talking about Josh Toth for the last 3-4 laps. We've been watching this kid progress up through the ranks, and look at this. He secures it one more lap, another lap in that 3rd place position overall after time adjustments as we we take a look, a 26:59 lap time. He does slow down a little bit. So on a lapse time, where does that put him in the grand scheme of things? He is now 1 minute and 4 seconds behind Caleb Russell for second place. So taking him into the overall consideration, unless something big happens on this final lap, we can take him out of that. But the one thing that we do have to keep an eye on right now is Ricky Russell, and I think as important as anyone else out there right now, Stu Baylor. The gap between those riders right now, Josh Toth and Ricky Russell, is only 6 seconds. So Ricky Russell's only 6 seconds now from back off the podium, and you look back just a little bit further than that, it is Stu Baylor who is on a lapse time. Only 7 more seconds behind that. So, I mean, this is actually going to heat up. These guys are going, so 13 seconds for Stu Baylor, 15 seconds or so, but to a podium position on adjusted time. But again, we're talking about adjusted time, and that's hard to really gauge whenever you're out there racing. So Stu's going to do what he does best. That's push hard at the end, and like we said right now, pushing has put him into the fastest lap time on that lap, and that's looking pretty solid for him if he can continue that through the final lap. That might push him up and inch him up closer to Ricky Russell, maybe around Ricky Russell, and into a podium position spot if he can best the time of Josh Toth.
So many storing lines and so many championships on the line, so many things happening, and dust flying, dirt flying, rocks flying, and the throttle hands are twisted. I actually just had Josh Toth's mechanic stop by and say, hey, if Josh wins, does that secure him the championship? So we're checking that right now.
Yes, it does.
So no matter what happens, in second place.
Here's the scenario. Yes, the scenario on that is if Josh Toth wins today, and if Lane Michael was to finish second, and then we go to the next 2 rounds, and Lane Michael win the last 2 rounds, and Josh Toth finish second the last 2 rounds, they would be in a deadlock tie. Tiebreaker situation would then fall to the favor of Josh Toth. So Josh Toth will wrap up the win in the XC2 250 Pro class today if he does take the win, and it doesn't matter where Lane Michael finishes, second on back.
Gotcha. Well, that answers that question. So, Ryan Ballou, if you're out there, you said you were going to stop on the way back by. No need to stop. If your boy holds on to the position he's in, he will wrap up that XC2 Pro Lights title. The man chasing him right now is the number 9 Coastal Racing Husqvarna of Craig DeLong. And there he goes. There he went. So fast, the camera can't keep up.
Yeah, Craig DeLong was running some 2 minutes, 15 seconds behind Josh Toth at the end of lap number 5, and we're still waiting on him to check in now for the 6th lap complete. That's the 8th place ride. Grant Baylor is checked in now. He is your 7th place overall position. So, man, as this race wanes on, man, it seems like things are starting to stretch out a little bit. I don't know if it's the heat, the dust, just the circumstances at which these riders are falling into with lap traffic or what, but things are starting to change here toward the end of the race.
Yeah, things are heating up, things are shaking out, and I'll tell you another thing. As I look at these XC2 Pro Lights points, Lane Michael with 216 points, Craig DeLong with 213, so only 3 points separate them for that second place position. Obviously, those bonuses and bragging rights don't stop at the championship. We've talked a lot about that, but those boys are in basically a dead heat. With DeLong in second and Lane Michael in third, that would actually leapfrog DeLong into that second place spot in the XC2 Pro Lights class with 2 rounds remaining. So those guys bragging rights within the team, you know, and here is Lane Michael with that high-vis helmet, still pushing hard, absolutely flying out there. But right now, he is chasing instead of the rabbit. He is the hound trying to chase down the rabbit that is Craig DeLong, and obviously the fastest rabbit out front right now is Josh Toth.
And I got to say, I'm a little bit surprised by that. For some reason, I always expect Lane Michael to do very well here, considering, again, he's out of, what, Fairmont, West Virginia, only about 30 minutes, 20 minutes from where we are right now, probably closer than that as the crow flies. So these types of conditions and terrain he's used to, but we also got to remember he's been training down south in North Carolina a lot, so he's not as acclimated to these rocks as he used to be as a younger rider.
Absolutely. You know, he has had some phenomenal rides here over the years. I do remember him and Grant Baylor when they were both in that 250A class. Those guys were battling and actually pushed themselves up inside the top 10 overall from the 250A class. So as remarkable as Alex Teagarden is there in 17th, I believe, overall at the moment. Back in the day, Lane Michael and Grant Baylor pushed each other all the way up to inside that top 10 here. I believe it was in 2012, 2013. One of the first years that we raced here, those guys were battling it out in that 250A class and putting on one heck of a show, and still doing so on the podium today, at least as of right now in our XC2 Pro Lights class. Pretty big gap over the 4th place ride, which is that still Mike Witkowski in the 4th place spot in the XC2. I'm off that screen, and so are you, Mikey. It's fine.
Yeah, I believe it. Well, Lane Michael just checked in. I think we're still waiting on Mike, but last time they checked in, it was Wachowski in the 4th place spot with the 1, 2, 3 of Austin Lee behind him in 5th.
So many battles going on out on the track, and as we look down through at least our top 20, we're representing more than a few classes here. We've got obviously the top 5 we know to be Ryan Sipes leading the way, Caleb Russell second. They're still showing Trevor Bollinger in third. If you're watching that at home, folks, that is not updated information. It is Ricky Russell in the 3rd place spot in XC1 with Stu Baylor directly behind him. But news flash, red alert. Breaking news, Josh Toth, 3rd place overall on corrected time on the number 206 Yamaha out of that XC2 Pro Lights class. So that is your top 5 overall as they run currently. 6th place overall is still Trevor Bollinger, and those guys are pushing hard, doing everything they can possibly do to try and close the gap up front there. Obviously, Stu Baylor came in today with still a mathematical chance at trying to get the job done here for the championship. As of right now, the way they run, that chance has been erased. So the only rider, interesting note, the only rider left with a mathematical shot at stopping Caleb Russell as they run at this very moment is here today. He's just not racing. Unfortunately, Thad Duvall with that injured wrist, I've seen some Instagram videos from him. He's out cheering his boys on in the woods. Great to have him here. Obviously, he's a GNCC lifer, loves it all the way from his youth days up till now. Battling Caleb Russell for that championship. Unfortunately, an untimely injury at the International 6 Days Enduro in France just about 4 weeks ago set him back. He has chosen to get that wrist healed up rather than pushing it with even though he does still have a mathematical chance at the championship. Says he wants to have a nice long career and do the right things and make the right decisions, which certainly we support him 100%. All his fans do as well. Thad, if you're out there listening, obviously awesome to have you here today. And the way things run right now, if Caleb Russell cannot make the pass on Ryan Sipes, Thad would still have a mathematical chance at beating Caleb Russell for the championship. So there, we cannot present the #1 plate, even though Thad has said he is not racing any more GNCCs, or at least the next few. He's got focus on other things like getting healthy. But he would still, with a 33-point deficit coming into this race, even if Caleb Russell finishes second with 25 points, that would mean only 58 points, where Caleb would need 60 to secure the championship. As of right now, he does have the gap covered on Stu Baylor. I believe he came into this race with 57 points on Stu Baylor. Stu Baylor currently running in 4th. He would be able to open up that gap enough where he would have 62 points on Baylor as they run, or actually 63 points on Baylor as they run right now. So he would still have enough of a gap there. But, you know, Mikey, it's mind-numbing, all these different point scenarios you have to keep in your mind and do the math on the fly. So it's like dollars changing hands. You just never know where they're going to go.
Exactly. That's exactly right. And keeping my eye on all of these different changing point scenarios. I have to do it from youth all the way up to the pros, and I'm sitting here and I'm flipping through papers, and I think I remember one thing, but right now it's about these XC1s, these XC2s, and the FMF XC3. And leader right there right now is a 264 Ryan Sipes. It's almost been from the start of this thing until now. Caleb Russell doing what he can. He's 26.5 seconds behind. And Josh Toth out of the XC2 battling in the #3 spot, that last podium position. Who is it going to be? We'll be right back with GNCC Live in a minute.
Get the most protection for your vehicles and toys and the most bang for your buck with the AMSOIL Preferred Customer Program. Join today and receive up to 25% savings on AMSOIL products, exclusive product and shipping promotions, free AMSOIL gear, points on all purchases, referral rewards. Register today and take advantage of all the benefits offered by the AMSOIL Preferred Customer Program. Visit amsoil.com/PC.
Here at Rocky Mountain ATV MC, we go beyond selling parts, apparel, and accessories. We take pride in supporting the sport. We're proud to sponsor GNCC Racing and the KR4 team. It's just one more way to show our dedication for the fans and riders of this great sport. RockyMountainATVMC.com. Get ready.
If you believe life starts where the blacktop ends, if the power of an engine makes your heart race, don't settle for anything less than Polaris RZR, the ultimate off-road vehicle. With unequaled power, unrivaled suspension, and unmatched agility, all perfectly combined to help you chase down what matters most. Polaris RZR, we fuel your freedom. And now's the time to get up to $2,000 cash back during the Polaris Spring Sales Event.
And welcome back to GNCC Live. We're going to take a look. I think we just missed our leader, but we understand it's still, what, a 30-second gap, they said. So that gap's still right there. And there is Caleb Russell working his way through.
You've got to wonder at this point, Caleb Russell chasing all day. Obviously, you would assume he's a guy that never gives up, runs it till the end, gives it all he's got. But at this point, what has he not thrown at Ryan Sipes? And everything that he's thrown, Ryan Sipes has countered. So you almost have to be as driven, as focused, and as determined as Caleb Russell is to not only get this win or any win, but specifically today with the championship on the line. You've just got to wonder, at what point do you say, all right, man, that's enough. This guy's earned it, you know. But I guess when you're a guy like Caleb Russell, there's no quit in you. When you're a guy like Ryan Sipes, there's no quit in you. You just keep pushing, you just keep digging, and you just keep going. Speaking of digging and pushing, Ricky Russell digging and pushing his way up. Looks like he may have actually closed up that gap a little bit on Caleb Russell. And we wait and we watch. Should be the 514 machine of Stu Baylor, who was all over the rear wheel of Ricky Russell. Now that gap has opened up quite a bit, so he's got some work to do if he wants to insert himself back into this conversation over who can be on this podium in the XC1 Pro Lights class. We'll wait and we'll see exactly what the split is to Josh Toth Josh Toth, our XC2 Pro Lights leader, as he comes by. We can't obviously have any foregone conclusions. He does still have to get that win today to lock up that XC2 Pro Lights championship. But another thing on his radar is an overall podium, which I don't believe he, oh yes, I'm sorry, second place overall at the Snowshoe GNCC just a few months ago. So he is still, has already accomplished that feat, but I'm sure he would love to do it again, especially in the rocks again. So a rock specialist, it seems, this year on that NFAB Ampro Yamaha, pushing hard, trying to get the job done. And he does have that minute that he's working with. We see his mechanic, Ryan Ballou, there. I wonder if that pit board says something to the effect of, stay here, you champ.
Yeah, probably, man. Not reel it in necessarily, but yeah, let's capture this championship.
Yeah, you know, all these guys, it's important to be on the overall podium. Obviously, that's a bragging rights thing, maybe some additional bonus money, a little bit of extra leverage when negotiating contracts for next year. But the reality of it is that man drove to the first race this year in South Carolina with one goal in mind, and that was to win. Him and his entire team, his family, everybody, they wanted to win that XC2 Pro Lights title. So you don't want to let that carrot, you know, of an overall podium deter you from what you're doing. You stick to your guns, you ride your race, you don't ride over your head, you don't do anything that you wouldn't be doing. And with a, well, I don't know what the lead was this last lap. We know it was 2 minutes and 12 seconds last lap. As we look down to Craig DeLong, they're now 3 minutes and 23 seconds behind Josh Toth. Oh, look at this. Trevor Bollinger has quite a miscue there. Did he get going again, or did he just kind of roll down the hill?
Yeah, I think it looked like he was rolling. I don't know if he killed it or what. But,
yeah, I think he stalled it, almost lost it, and he's digging. At this point, these guys all are. They're digging for every little bit of last energy that they have left. They're chasing glory, chasing win, chasing fame, and right now all they're feeling is pain.
Yeah, that's very true. And, man, hats off to Ryan Sipes. Obviously, it's not over yet. We don't want to speak too soon for the guy, but he's had so many races this year where he comes out, he starts real strong, and has these little mishaps, not even necessarily things that have been, his fault. But today, he's found a way to persevere. We don't know exactly what happened, but he's missing his front number plate. The handguard is bent. He had the fuel issue in the pits. Doesn't matter. He's still out there in front and increased that gap. Last we heard 30 seconds. It's just one heck of a race.
Absolutely crazy. You know, and I'll be the first to admit, when we saw Ryan Sipes sprinting, putting down those super fast laps early and opening up that gap, as impressed as I was, in the back of my mind, I kind of thought, well, you know, he's done this a few times already this year and over the last few years, and it seems more times than not, like you said, something comes up and snake bites him, whether it's his fault or just bad luck or whatever it may be. So you know, in your brain, you can't help but think that you don't wish that on the guy, but you got to think, hey, is that going to happen again? You know, Caleb Russell's solid. He's won 45 of these things. He's the guy in second. This thing's going to play itself out. And then, like I said, everything Caleb Russell throws at him, he just keeps keeps trying to put the pressure on Ryan Sipes. Sipes, despite his challenges today, is just a man on a mission, and he will not be denied, it seems. 30-second gap is what we're told. We should see them late here at about the 6.5 mile marker, which is the rock garden here as they're coming in. So at this point, they'll have about 2.5 miles left of racing action, and that will determine who is the winner once they come through. So Ryan Sipes, the front number plate lists number 264 Coastal Racing Husqvarna is what we're looking for, and we're looking for him where? At the FMF Power Point. That's where we're waiting, that's where we're watching, and it's all going to play out here, folks. So many storylines, again, all the championships on the line, all of the bragging rights on the line, but right now the only thing Ryan Sipes is thinking about, he doesn't care about anybody's championship. Only thing he cares about is twisting that throttle, pointing himself in the right direction, and seeing a checkered flag here soon.
Bringing the fun back to it all right there.
Bringing the fun back to it. No pressure, no points, just pin it.
Giving you some highlights from a couple of the other classes. Out of the Vet B is a close one. There's only 14 seconds between your leader, Jordan Overfeld, and Kevin Rammer. I hope I'm saying that one right. But Jordan Overfeld is from Morgantown, West Virginia, so kind of a home race for him. So kudos there, and good race going on in the Vet B class. In the 200A class is also another close one with Hunter Reimer, only 13 seconds ahead of Brody Johnson. So a couple all over the place, man. There's so many storylines out there.
And interestingly, you know, you look down through these classes, Mikey, and, you know, oftentimes in different conditions, we see things a little bit tighter and a little more challenging between these classes, man. But these rocks, these conditions today really separate a lot of these classes and a lot of these riders out here.
Yeah, you know, and as much as we've talked about how close the battle has been for the win here in this XC1 Pro Lights class, how about the fact that we've never actually seen a wheel-to-wheel battle yet for this lead? It's been a battle of the stopwatch.
Yeah, it really has.
It was a minute, then it was a minute and a half, then it was down, and it just keeps going back and forth. How about this guy on screen?
Yeah.
Oh, how about this guy on screen?
Yeah.
There was his mechanic a minute ago, Tyler King, and there is the man with the throttle hand, Ryan Sipes, the 264 machine. And as we wait and we watch, there is Taylor Jones from the XC3 class. She is a lap down, working her way through, we believe, still in that.
She just got lapped, though.
Yeah, the 6th place ride in that XC3 Pro Lights class. Here comes the number one. No, that is not the number one FMF KTM. So the gap, well, we do know it was 30 seconds. It's only been about 20 since Ryan came through. So he seems to still have that comfortable gap he's working with.
It's opening up, maybe,
He's
too.
managing that gap, and he's doing a darn good job of it.
And still
we are upwards of 40 seconds now. There is Caleb Russell. 55 seconds is the gap. So not only is Ryan Sipes able to hang on under the pressure of one of the winningest riders in GNCC history, now he has actually stretched the gap out to 55 seconds, and whoa, look at this.
Ricky Russell hot on his rear wheels there, it looks like, as he's not far behind, and that also brings back into play the question of Josh Toth now, and how far he might be able to advance up into the overall. What a spoiler on what could be such a monumental day here in Masontown, West Virginia today. You know what we hyped up at the beginning of the race certainly may not be coming to pass here today for Caleb Russell, but Josh Toth may be taking it one step further, clinching the title, and also moving up through the ranks into the possibility of maybe a second place overall.
Well, I'll tell you what, that throws another monkey wrench into the equation, in the never-ending mathematical equation. If Josh Toth were able to push Caleb Russell back, that would re-enter Stu Baylor into the overall championship mathematics. Because right now, as they run, Stu Baylor has been eliminated, if they finish the way that they run. If Josh Toth makes the pass on Caleb Russell, that takes away 4 points from Caleb Russell that would knock him back to only a 3-point difference of 1 point, which now changes that gap back to only 60. Well, it would need to be 59. Well, man, there's too many things. Here is the man of the day right now, though.
It's getting wild, though, right?
Look at how fast he's carrying speed through those rocks.
So smooth, too. You know, I remember watching Juha Salminen ride through some of the roughest stuff, and he seems to be choosing lines like that late in this race, man. I mean, we go back to that adage, sometimes slowing down is faster, and right there is proof positive of that.
And there we see that is Ryan Sipes' wife, You can see the anxiousness on her face. We've got his little boy there. We know we get to see the Instagram videos of him riding his bicycle and his little Osset Trials bike. Mom's there. They're all waiting. They're watching that hillside, and they want to see that number 264 Coastal Racing Husqvarna. They want to see him come around the corner, and they want to see nobody behind him. 55 seconds is the gap that we now know should be smooth sailing for him.
We are less than 4 minutes away from what looks like a checker flag and what looks like is going to be taken by Ryan Sipes here today as he's on his way to another monumental win in GNCC racing. And, of course, with this win, he not only etches another notch in his belt, but he also gives us another 2 weeks of hype as far as Caleb Russell is concerned, and his breaking and setting of records and tying of records, and of course winning championships. So it's making it pretty exciting here today, and as much as anything, man, it's good to see Ryan Sipes finally getting back to where we know, every time he gets to, something seems to knock him down off a notch or two. But man, now that he's here and he's found it again, how long can Ryan Sipes stay up here? This is going to be the exciting thing. But right now, let's just be excited for what today's racing is bringing for this rider, the number 264. Ryan Sipes, the Rockstar Husqvarna rider. Like we said, Johnny, less than 3 minutes now before he looks like he is going to take a win here in Masontown, West Virginia.
Yeah, he's really put together such a great race with all the adversity thrown at him, missing that front number plate. I'll be curious to hear what the story is behind that. Was it a crash? Did it just fall off? Did somebody roost a rock at him? Or again, is it that whole thing we talked about with these rocks at Masontown that can jar just about anything loose, including dental fillings? Did they knock the bolt out of that front number plate and it just fell off? Or did Ryan Sipes tell them to take it off in the pits because he needed more speed for the straightaways? There's so many possibilities.
So many scenarios that you're looking at right there. There's no doubt about that as we are making our way. We are now at the 3-hour mark according to timing and scoring on my computer, and 2 minutes away. We should be expecting to see the 264 crossing that finish line for a very historic win in his own career right there. And Johnny, is this win number 2, 3?
I believe this is win number 2 from Ryan Sipes. If he can carry it to the finish line, he had one in 2015, I'm sorry, 2016, and I believe that was his first ever win. So there is his dad. You got to think this guy here, he's spun wrenches for that young man since he was on little 50cc machines. He's yucking it up right now, but you know he's feeling it. He's listening to that headset for any update he can get, and he's thinking, man, all those nights in the garage, all those sacrifices they've made as a family. His brother drives a professional monster truck. I believe it's Monster Mutt, or I'm not sure which one exactly it is, but he drives a monster truck. Tyler King is the man who spins the wrenches on that machine now. So there's the new generation on the right. Tyler King, he's the one responsible for making sure that machine stays together. He's biting his fingernails looking at him. You know what's playing through his head right now? He's like, man, I remember when I tightened that swing arm bolt, I put it to exactly 57 foot-pounds, and that's what it's supposed to be.
57 seconds left to go here before we should expect to see our leader in at the finish line and crossing that one, my friend. So less than 1 minute to go. Can Ryan Sipes maintain the mojo all the way through the checker flag? He picked up some great momentum right off the bat of this race and has never looked back in now over 3 hours of racing. We are looking at some 3 hours and 2 minutes and probably closer to 3:03 when they come across the finish line, or he comes across the finish line. And what an amazing feat by this young man out of Kentucky, man.
Arm up, Hollywood with his arm up. There he is, folks, Ryan Sipes.
Ryan Sipes again, man, this has got to be such a great feeling for this rider to know that even whenever he had the adversities today, whenever the gaps began to close, he was able to still rise to the occasion, rise to that level that needed to be risen to in order to make the great steps and the great feats that he has accomplished here today, and taking this monumental win and turning the history of GNCC around here in Masontown, West Virginia.
Absolutely. What
Look at the fist pump
in the fans.
The fist pump from Ryan Sipes as he heads through the closing turns of this Rocky Mountain ATV MC Mountaineer Run GNCC. Nearly slowing down, slowing up the high bar
there on the side of the track. That was Thad Duvall fist pumping him. That's a man they've spent a lot of time riding together. You know he's got to be pumped for him. Thad Duvall wishing he could be out here getting the job done, but he's pumped for his buddy Ryan Sipes.
Well, here we go. We'll see. There he is, Ryan Sipes, into the final chicanes here at the Mountaineer Run GNCC. As he makes his way in, the fist continues to pump, and rightfully so. He is the Mountaineer Run GNCC champion, Ryan Sipes.
What a happy moment for a man that has worked so hard his entire career to be the best at everything that he does. All his fans there waiting for him. Tyler King is mechanic. He can stop biting those nails now, Tyler. The bike held up. You did your job. Ryan did his. And today, it translated into a win in the greatest off-road racing series in the world. Ryan Sipes, the 264 Coastal Racing Husqvarna, surrounded by his Coastal Racing team. We'll wait and we'll watch. It should be the #1 FMF KTM. There it is. Caleb Russell coming through for that second place spot. We didn't see.
Good.
We'll wait and see if Ricky Russell is able to close it out in that third place spot. And there is Ricky Russell right behind him coming through. So we've got our top three. As they run now, we'll wait and see where does Josh Toth fit into the equation. But right now, the man of the moment, the man of the hour, Ryan Sipes.
33.5 seconds. Ryan Sipes taking the win over Caleb Russell. Ricky Russell finishing another 5.7 seconds back in the #3 position. And again, a waiting game to see if and where Josh Toth is going to finish in this one. As far as the overall is concerned, as the congratulations continue here at the finish line. You know, one of the great things about this win for Coastal Racing is the fact that we are as well in the home stomping ground, just moments and minutes away from the headquarters of Coastal Racing, just across the border in Pennsylvania. So this is a big win for that team in a hometown race, so to speak, as well.
Absolutely. And another hometown boy, Caleb Russell, you know, his the family farm, or not the family farm, but the family estate is just a few miles from here as well in Morgantown.
And we got Mikey Waynes down in the winner circle with our winner, Ryan Sipes.
Here with Ryan Sipes. Ryan's second career win, I believe, correct, out of the... No? First out of the XC. Well, there we go. First win out of the XC1, man. How's this feel?
Oh, man, it's pretty amazing. It's relieving. Been trying a long time, 4 years for this, and it's been such an up and down year. I've been really frustrated, and then some parts have been good. So I kind of just told myself, I'm deciding I'm gonna do it. You know, whatever that means. It worked out. So.
Well, man, talk a little bit more about this one. The number plate was gone. It looked like the handguard was messed up. You had the fuel issue there in the pits, and we're thinking, oh, man, is he going to hang on to this one?
Yeah, that made me a little nervous. We fueled, and I got fuel all over exactly where you don't want to get fuel. And, yeah, the bike wouldn't start for a long time, and I saw my lead go from 45 to 15, and I'm like, dang, you know, I got to pick it up. And track was getting gnarly, the lappers were bad, and I just kept my head down, just kept pushing, try to not think about anything but the track, you know, and it worked out. Bike was good, and I'm pumped.
Well earned, man. Big congratulations to you. I know the celebration's on. We'll take it back to you, Rodney and Johnny.
Wow, there again, Johnny. I know we're both scratching our head.
Here with our phones in our hands.
I swear, I think I remember him winning at least one GNCC, and like you, Johnny, I think you said the Ironman, and we'll have to check those records. But regardless,
Ryan Sipes did not win a race in 2016. I know he did not in 2015, and that was his first full season. This is Ryan's. Ryan, we apologize. We did not make nearly as big of a deal out of this because we thought you had won a race last year. So, Ryan Sipes, congratulations on your first career GNCC win.
He's come so close so many times, so, man, to have it jerked away from him. And, you know, we were talking about this. He earned and deserved this one today. And to think, man, he's come this close maybe a couple of other times whenever it's been jerked away from him. But today, he seals the deal on it, man. Over 3 hours. His elapsed time of racing, 3 hours, 8 minutes. Now down to Ricky Russell for third place. Going down to Josh Toth, I guess it is, and Mikey Waynes at our winner circle.
Cap off the 2017 season, right?
Yeah, that's it. It's wrapped up.
What did it take to reflect on 2017? I know this was a goal of yours coming into 2017. What did it take, man?
Consistency, really. It just paid off being the most consistent all year and getting all the wins racked up. So, yeah, I would say consistency.
Well, big congratulations to you, man. We'll see you up on that podium in a little bit. Back to Rodney.
All righty, so that's going to secure that one. He gets that national championship in the XC2 250 Pro class. And congratulations to Job Toast. He also finishes up in a 4th place position overall. So Ryan Sipes taking his, historic first win here in Masontown. He stops Caleb Russell in the all-time wins record tying situation, and he stops him in taking that overall 5th championship here in 2017. Slows him down, at least. I'm sure that, we still got 2 more rounds to go, and Caleb's got some more work ahead of him. But, wow, this is interesting scenario shaping up. I know that you'd mentioned a few moments ago it could even throw Stu Baylor into the mix of things, depending on how this race day finishes out. And, wow, congratulations again to Ryan Sipes, and a great ride by him, a great ride by Caleb Russell. And I think if you talk to him, he's going to say it went as planned. The only thing that didn't go as planned is that the mistakes didn't come from Ryan. The monumental mistakes that he needed from Ryan didn't come as he continued to run those consistent laps. And then when he did make that push toward the end, it was just too little too late, I guess.
Too little too late, and I think Ryan Sipes answered. Every time Caleb Russell put up he never put up that big heater to really put the pressure on Ryan, but he let Ryan kind of come back to him as he probably assumed the race was going to play out. And every time Ryan would fall back into the clutches of Caleb Russell, Ryan would grab a handful of that Husqvarna 350 and say, man. And you heard him say that the interview was kind of broken up. We didn't get to hear all of it, but you heard him say the difference was today with all the struggles, with everything that's happened, I just decided I was going to do it, whatever that means. And, there's some cryptic words there. I mean, you got to believe after having a great run there in France in the International 6 Days Enduro, he came over probably with some confidence, unsure of exactly what the future holds for him, wanted to have a good run at Unadilla, a track that he's got a lot of history at as a professional motocross racer, comes in, is running well, and then is suddenly in the pits with tendinitis, and he's got a lingering injury from all the years on the motorcycle. He went home, had that time to reflect, and I'm not speaking for him, but you got to believe something lit a fire in Ryan Sipes, because the way he rode today, we've never seen anything like it. With his best previous finish, Rodney, you were right. It was the Ironman, but it was 2nd place. He was beat out by Josh Strang, and if I remember correctly, leading much of that race, battling right down to the finish. Josh Strang was able to grab that win, and Ryan Sipes was denied. Today, no one could deny Ryan Sipes.
Not a bit, my friends. Caleb Russell again in 2nd, but again, a very impressive ride by Ricky Russell on a couple different levels, not only because he's back up on the podium, but because of the consistency at which we have been seeing him race at this season, man. How many times he's either been on the podium, near the podium, winning in West Virginia, and how strong he finished here today. I think that's only a glimpse of what we've got to look forward to as far as the future is concerned. Not only in these next 2 rounds, man, I'm starting to look ahead to 2018 at this particular point, and the depth of the talent pool is starting to get deeper and deeper. And Caleb Russell, though he may still be on top of the game and still be the man to beat, man, he's got a lot more people that are capable of taking him down on given days.
Absolutely. Thad Duvall not racing with us, but you saw him fist-pumping Ryan Sipes in the fields there near the end of the race. A rider that has fought tooth and nail with Caleb Russell over this championship this year, and now, fittingly, the only one left with a mathematical shot at even getting the job done. Caleb Russell with a over 60-point lead on Stu Baylor. He was one of the 2 riders left with the mathematical shot. His 2nd place today, Caleb Russell, pushes Baylor out of the equation. It's now down to just Thad Duvall. So with that said, does Thad Duvall suit up, come out, and say, hey, man, if you're not going to take it, I'm going to try and take it away from you?
I don't know. That'll be an interesting scenario that we'll be facing in 2 weeks when we head to St. Clairsville, Ohio, to the Powerline Park GNCC, Johnny. And that's another big mainstay on the GNCC. It's been there for nearly 2 decades down there, man. And, I mean, we've ridden that a lot. We've raced that a lot. It's an off-road park, man, but there's some uniqueness there in Ohio. Brings out the race fans, brings out the riders themselves, and it always creates a very interesting race.
Absolutely, and those Ohio fans are crazy. They go down to that mud hole jump, and who knows, they crawl out of the woodwork. They come from Columbus, they come from Cleveland, they come from all parts of Ohio, and they want to cheer those guys on, and they're going to get treated to potentially a Caleb Russell championship if he can score just 2 points is what he would need to put that championship away. So an 18th place overall at St. Clairsville will get the job done for Caleb. He's going to have to give it everything he's got, and here's 2 guys, Coastal Racing Husqvarna teammates, gave it all they had today and came away with the win in the XC1 class and 2nd in the XC2 Pro Lights class. Craig DeLong there getting a little sip of water, and Ryan Sipes with his first career GNCC win. And let me tell you from experience, Rodney, that's a great feeling.
And Johnny, you know what? I love that you're able to say those words, man.
It was a crack of a joke, but that is awesome. I'm pumped for him. He's a great guy.
I know it was a joke, but it's still pretty fun.
He's worked so hard, like I said, a journeyman off-road racer, from a professional or factory motocross racer to come, and he raced 1 year out of a motorhome. Out of his own camper, with a lot of support from a lot of people, but not a full factory ride, and said, hey, look, guys, this is what I want to do. I can do it. I'm willing to spend my own money and my own time to prove it. It was proven. He was picked up by that Coastal Racing Husqvarna team, and today he paid those boys back with exactly what they wanted when they signed him, a GNCC win, and today he gets the job done. Ryan Sipes, he's sitting there, and it's all sinking in. And I believe that's his son sitting there next to him, and he's thinking, Dad, why you look so tired?
Man, how could you not be tired after 3 hours and 8 minutes of racing, which is what Ryan Sipes put forth here on this racetrack today. And the big win in these conditions, dusty, hot, and no humidity necessarily, but man, the sun has been so intense today, and I tell you, preparation leading into this race was very, very key, and obviously Ryan proves that he has been putting in the work.
Putting in the work, and right now he's putting in the dad time. Jack's saying, hey, Dad, can I ride my dirt bike when we get home? He's like, all right, buddy, listen, Daddy had a rough day, but yeah, sure. When we get home, you can take it out and you can ride it.
I want a 250. I think that's what he just told Dad.
Jack loves that dirt bike. Ryan was telling us about it over in France. He says whenever he sees the dirt bike, he always wants to ride. He just wants to be on that machine. He's got the grass track in the yard. He wants to put the time in on the machine. He wants to ride, and who knows? Ryan Sipes, I'm sure, still has some wins left in him. Who knows? Maybe some championships. You just never know. But in the future, I'm going to tell you right now, he's going to be back at the racetrack, spinning the wrenches, just like his dad, who's actually walking in front of the RacerTV studios right now. So hats off to you, Mr. Sipes, for all the work you put in. Your son paid you back today with a GNCC win.
Ryan Sipes with the win, Caleb Russell second, Ricky Russell in third, Josh Toth, XC2 250 Pro Class winner, securing his championship, will finish fourth overall. Stu Baylor does come across the line in the number 5 position overall. He's fourth in class. Grant Baylor finishing up behind him in sixth, aboard the number 314. Trevor Bollinger, 7th place overall, with Craig DeLong, who finishes second, XC2, 8th place, I'm sorry. And then, of course, Lane Michael finishing 8 seconds behind Craig DeLong there, the 5:23. So he looks like he may have made a little bit of a late push here in the race, a 27:13. Actually, Lane Michael turning the third fastest lap of the race there. Josh Toth and Caleb Russell, Ryan Sipes, the only other two faster than what he was. Benjamin Kelly in 11th, Austin Lee 12th. Looks like we're waiting X up and coming in soon. Austin Lee is still looking for him in his 7th lap complete. Also behind him, Jason Thomas was 13th place overall, and Jason wrapping up a championship with this win if he is able to complete that, as well as his GNCC racing career. And what a storied career he had, no doubt about it. We've seen him in his highs, we've seen him in his lows. He came in with a bang, and obviously I think Jason Thomas is going to leave the exact same way.
Absolutely. Say what you want about Jason, but he's always going to be remembered. He's an enigma. He does everything his own way. No matter how many people tell him he should do things a certain way, he's always done it his own way. And to his credit, he's willing to accept the criticism and the what comes with his choices sometimes. So hats off to him on a championship this year, and also hats off to him if, was it Frank Sinatra that said, whatever I did it my way.
No doubt about it. I tell you, he most certainly did do that. And I'll tell you, I've never seen the talent of someone able to upset not just an entire racing nation, not a country, but the world globally in racing, man. I mean, he's got a lot of influence, whether you want to admit it or not, man. Jason Thomas has brought a lot to GNCC racing over the 12 years of his career.
3 championships, Lord only knows how many, XC2 wins, and obviously this year a handful of XC3 wins. But to me, those are not a drop in the bucket to what Jason Thomas has accomplished as far as being able to stir up a hornet's nest on social media. If you could not possibly. And there is the flag waving. I believe that is his dad.
Yes, it is.
And here comes Jason Thomas riding a wheelie on that Husqvarna, Palmer Motorsports Husqvarna. He dug deep, got the job done, and wins the championship in that XC3 Pro Lights class.
Let's head down to the winner's circle and get the word from the man himself, Jason Thomas with Mikey Waynes.
Well, Jason, working on getting the helmet off here. We'll give you a couple seconds. A man with a #1 finish on the day. And another championship here for you out of the FMF XC3, man. As you're swallowing some water, this is the last one of your pro career. Is there a better way to end it than this right here, man?
No, this is the way I wanted to go out, you know. I don't know, it's been a tough year, you know. There's kids in there, and, you know, Wibbs is in there, and, I mean, it's been tough all year, you know. Jack got hurt, so that took him out of that, but, you know, that's what it's about, you know. It's 13 rounds, and you have to stay healthy and fit for 13 rounds, and I was able to do that. And yeah, it's nice to wrap up the championship and finish my pro career with a win. You know, that's important. You know, it's kind of closure. You know, so that's what I was looking for. And goodbye.
Well, there we go, Jason Thomas with some closure and a 2017 FMF XC3 championship to show for it.
Wow, man, I tell you, Jason Thomas coming into the United States in GNCC racing with a bang. He goes out with the bang, man. A storied career in between each one of those, the entrance and the exit. And my hat's off, and I salute that young man and the dedication, the heart, the desire, and the drive that he gave. Johnny Gallagher, any quick final thoughts you want to pass along?
Just wow for Ryan Sipes, man. What a feeling. What an effort that brought him to this point. There's, you know, we talked about the fathers today. Jason Thomas's dad, again, wrenching on those motorcycles all those years ago, stands behind his son as he wraps up that XC3 championship. Josh Toth wrapping up his championship. Another 2 weeks to wait for Caleb Russell to possibly get his done. But, you know, so many storylines today, and the biggest one by far, Ryan Sipes. First GNCC win. What a day. What a weekend.
Well, the excitement moves on to St. Clairsville, Ohio in 2 weeks. Join us there for the Powerline Park GNCC. Check out gnccracing.com for more details and information about that. And that's going to wrap things up here from Masontown, West Virginia, our unofficial homecoming here in the GNCC Racing Nation. I want to say thanks on behalf of Kerry Russell, Chelsea Taylor, our producer, technical director Adam Gordon, second-hand specialist Mr. Dan Reinhardt, our utility specialist Josh Zaleski, of course, camera operators Jordan McFadden, Adam Thistlewaite, Casey Caitlin, Jamie Snyder, Ian Howes, and Josh Zaleski. On behalf of Johnny Gallagher and Mikey Wayne Simpson, I'm Rodney Tomlin. Great day, everybody.